Welcome back, fellow seekers of the shadows. You've tuned into Stories of Crime, the place where the veil between the mundane and the monstrous is brutally ripped away. Tonight, we aren't just reading a report. We are opening a file, marked top priority, tucked away in the darkest corner of the archives. We're going to step across that chalk line and peer into the void, where human nature meets its most terrifying extremes. In this hour, the street lights flicker, the shadows deepen, and the truth is often far more chilling than any fiction you could invent. Forget the heroes. Tonight, we focus on the villains. On the motives that curdle the blood, and the consequences that echo forever. So, dim the lights. Lock your doors. Take a deep, steadying breath, because once the story begins, there's no turning back. This is Stories of Crime. And the case we're unfolding tonight is Tales of Terror and Mystery. Audiobook Hook, The Shadow of the Unknown. Welcome, intrepid listeners, to Tales of Terror and Mystery. In this inaugural chapter, Audiobook Hook, The Shadow of the Unknown, we embark on a journey designed to ensnare your imagination, to challenge your perceptions of what is real and what lies beyond the veil of understanding. We stand at the precipice where the unwavering light of human logic confronts the impenetrable darkness of the supernatural. It is a place where every shadow holds a secret, and every whisper might carry a truth too profound, or too terrifying, for our rational minds to fully grasp. Prepare to question the boundaries of belief and the very fabric of reality itself, for in the world we are about to explore, the most chilling mysteries are those that defy all explanation. A soundscape isn't just background noise, it's an auditory environment meticulously crafted to transport the listener. It's about more than just setting a scene, it's about evoking a feeling, a time, a place, before a single word of narration even begins. For our chapter, it's a deliberate choice to immediately immerse you in the late Victorian era, a period ripe with both scientific advancement and burgeoning spiritualism, a time when gas lamps flickered against cobblestone streets and the steam engine was the pulsating heart of progress and travel. The distant whistle, the train's rhythmic chug, these are not random sounds, they are carefully selected instruments in an orchestral prelude, tuning your ears to the approaching narrative. Imagine the subtle, almost imperceptible hum of electricity in a futuristic sci-fi novel, or the gentle lapping of waves in a tale of seafaring adventure. In our case, that whistling wind, a mournful whisper across ancient rooftops, instantly conjures images of fog-laden London streets, of clandestine meetings and hidden dangers. The steam train, a symbol of industrial might and relentless progress, provides a contrasting pulse, a heartbeat of human ingenuity pushing against the very forces of nature and the unknown. Together, they create a dialogue, an auditory tension between the natural world and the mechanical, between the open wilderness and the urban sprawl, between the familiar and the utterly mysterious. It's an immediate, visceral connection that bypasses pure intellect and speaks directly to your imagination, preparing the subconscious for the stories to unfold. This sonic foundation is crucial because it does more than just decorate the narrative, it actively participates in the storytelling. It bypasses the need for lengthy descriptive passages by painting a vivid picture in the listener's mind within seconds. It creates an emotional resonance, a mood, a foreboding sense of anticipation that primes the listener for the content to come. Without this carefully constructed soundscape, the opening might feel sterile, less atmospheric, and less immediately engaging. It's the difference between merely hearing about a setting and actually feeling yourself present within it. It establishes the initial contract with the listener: step into this world with us, and let your senses guide you. It promises a richness of experience beyond just spoken words, a commitment to a fully immersive auditory journey. This initial investment in atmosphere dictates the depth of engagement for the entire chapter and, indeed, the entire audiobook. A provocative question acts as a rhetorical anchor, immediately grabbing attention and fostering an internal dialogue within the listener. It's not merely a question seeking an answer, but a philosophical prompt designed to illuminate the core conflict or theme of the impending narrative. For audiobook hook, this question specifically targets the intellectual curiosity and inherent human fascination with the unknown, positioning the chapter as an exploration of boundaries, the boundaries of logic, reason, and scientific understanding against the unsettling expanse of the supernatural. It frames the entire discussion, inviting participation rather than passive reception. Consider the enduring appeal of Wa. Write something here. 8 sets the stage for a chapter that will not only entertain but also provoke thought about the limits of human knowledge and the persistent allure of the unknown. Teasing iconic imagery is a narrative technique designed to create immediate intrigue and specific expectations without revealing too much. It uses evocative, sensory details and memorable titles to paint a tantalizing picture in the listener's mind, promising a certain type of thrilling experience or intellectual challenge. For audiobook hook, it's about giving listeners a glimpse into the diverse horrors and intricate puzzles that await them in Doyle's less-known but equally brilliant works, cementing the promise of a truly varied and engrossing auditory journey. When we mention the horror of the heights, the very title conjures an immediate sense of dread and vertigo. It suggests a terror that exists not on the ground, but in the vast, empty expanse of the sky, a realm where human dominion is challenged. The image of something monstrous and unseen lurking far above, perhaps a creature from another dimension or an undiscovered species, is instantly gripping. Similarly, the Lost special immediately implies a grand, impossible vanishing act. A train, a massive, unyielding piece of machinery, simply disappears. This sets up a profound intellectual puzzle, a challenge to reason and logic that harks back to the very spirit of Sherlock Holmes, but perhaps with a more unsettling conclusion. These aren't just titles, they're doorways to specific narrative worlds, each promising a distinct blend of suspense, wonder, and fear. They're carefully chosen exemplars that demonstrate the range and power of Doyle's imaginative scope beyond the well-trodden paths of Baker Street. The deliberate teasing of these specific stories matters immensely because it concretizes the promises made earlier in the chapter. It moves from abstract themes of logic versus supernatural to tangible, exciting examples. It offers a taste of the diverse narratives that comprise tales of terror and mystery, ensuring that the listener understands the breadth of the experience. It builds a powerful sense of anticipation, making the listener eager to delve into the full stories. Moreover, by referencing specific works, we lend credibility and substance to our claims about Doyle's dual mastery. It shows that these aren't just theoretical discussions, they are grounded in concrete, captivating narratives. This technique transforms a general interest into a specific desire, guiding the listener's imagination towards the unique blend of thrills and intellectual engagement that defines this audiobook. It's the final, persuasive nudge, reinforcing the compelling nature of the journey ahead and demonstrating that the shadow of the unknown is not merely a concept, but a thrilling reality waiting to be explored. Mental exercises for the listener, sharpening your perception of the unknown. As we've established, this audiobook is not merely a passive listening experience, it's an invitation to engage, to ponder, and to challenge the very edges of your understanding. To truly immerse yourselves in the tales of terror and mystery that lie ahead, we encourage you to undertake a few mental exercises. These are designed to sharpen your observational skills, hone your analytical faculties, and prepare your imagination for the intriguing interplay between logic and the inexplicable that defines Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's most captivating non-Sherlockian works. Think of these as a warm-up for your mind, a way to attune your senses to the subtle currents of the unknown. First, let's call this the Ambient Immersion Challenge. When you next find yourself in a new environment, perhaps a quiet cafe, a bustling street corner, or even just your own home, take a moment to truly listen, beyond just the obvious sounds. What distant echoes can you discern? What subtle rhythms define the space? Can you identify disparate elements that, when combined, create a specific atmosphere? Try to mentally construct a narrative around. Introduction: Beyond Baker Street. Welcome, curious minds, to a journey not along the familiar fog-laden cobblestones of Baker Street, nor into the pristine, albeit often blood-stained, laboratories of scientific deduction we so readily associate with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. No, this expedition delves deeper, veers into the shadowed alleyways and the eerie, less trodden paths of his extraordinary imagination. I am your guide, a literary cartographer charting courses through the less explored regions of a master's mind, a mind that grappled not only with the mechanics of logic but also with the inexplicable dread that lurks in the human heart and the shadows just beyond our perception. We are about to venture beyond the iconic silhouette of Sherlock Holmes, beyond the comforting rationality of Dr. Watson's steady narration, and into a landscape where the unexplained holds sway, where human psychology unravels under pressure, and where the line between the natural and the supernatural blurs with disquieting frequency. For many, the name Arthur Conan Doyle conjures immediate images of a deer stalker hat, a pipe, and the brilliant, if sometimes abrasive, mind of the world's greatest consulting detective. Yet, to confine Doyle to the gaslamp glow of 221B Baker Street alone is to overlook a vast, rich, and profoundly influential segment of his literary output. It is to miss the true breadth of a genius who, in these collected tales of terror and mystery, allowed himself to explore the darker facets of Victorian anxieties, to test the boundaries of belief, and to weave narratives that disturb as much as they intrigue. These are the narratives where the societal facade cracks, revealing the primal fears beneath, where scientific explanation falters, and where the human condition is laid bare in all its vulnerability and occasional depravity. Prepare yourselves for a foray into the forgotten chambers of a master storyteller's mind, where the only constants are suspense, atmosphere, and the unsettling revelation that sometimes, the greatest monsters are not what we expect, nor are they easily dismissed by mere rational thought. Our voyage begins now, into the very heart of the unknown, beyond the comforting, logical confines of Baker Street. One of the most profound and fascinating paradoxes at the heart of Arthur Conan Doyle's creative genius, and indeed at the core of these very stories, is the dramatic interplay between his rigorous medical training and his fervent, lifelong belief in spiritualism. On the one hand, here was a man educated as a physician, a product of the late Victorian era's burgeoning scientific revolution. His studies at the University of Edinburgh exposed him to the cutting edge of anatomical knowledge, surgical techniques, and diagnostic reasoning. This academic background imbued him with a deep respect for observation, empirical evidence, and logical deduction, the very principles that would animate his most famous creation, Sherlock Holmes. Dr. Joseph Bell, Doyle's former professor and an acknowledged inspiration for Holmes, was renowned for his uncanny ability to deduce patients' professions and recent activities from minute, almost imperceptible details, a skill Doyle meticulously observed, absorbed, and subsequently fictionalized. This scientific grounding provided Doyle with an unparalleled ability to craft intricate plots, to understand the precise mechanics of the human body under stress, and to accurately portray the profound psychological impacts of fear, trauma, and sustained anxiety. He understood forensic detail with an almost prescient grasp, long before forensics was a widely recognized and systematized discipline, demonstrating an astonishing foresight into crime scene analysis and the subtle, often overlooked cues of human behavior. Yet, on the other hand, this same fiercely rationalist mind became deeply, passionately, and utterly convinced of the reality of spiritualism. This was no fleeting interest or casual curiosity but a profound philosophical and deeply personal journey, one that intensified significantly after the medical training grounds the horror firmly in believable human reactions and vulnerabilities, while the spiritualist inclination elevates it to something grander, more cosmic, and utterly terrifying. It transforms mere suspense into a profound, philosophical unease, challenging us to consider what truly lies beyond the scope of our five senses and the most advanced instruments of science. Doyle's deeply personal intellectual and spiritual journey thus becomes our shared journey within these pages, inviting us to peer unflinchingly into the abyss where science and spirit collide, creating a truly unique and compelling literary experience. It is a nuanced, intricate exploration of the human mind's remarkable capacity for both rigorous empirical reasoning and profound, unwavering belief, often existing simultaneously, creating a rich tapestry of fear and wonder that few authors have ever matched. He masterfully uses the precise language of rationality to probe the depths of the irrational, making the unknown feel intimately close, yet utterly alien and terrifyingly vast. This collection, as its very title suggests, is explicitly divided into two distinct, yet complementary, halves, terror and mystery. This is not an arbitrary organizational choice, rather, it highlights Doyle's astonishing versatility and his profound ability to master different facets of suspense and fear, each designed to evoke a specific kind of reader response. The terror stories often deal with overt supernatural elements, psychological dread, or intense, life-threatening physical danger, aiming specifically to evoke a primal, visceral sense of fear and profound unease. They might feature monstrous entities, malevolent ghosts, ancient curses, or characters trapped in horrifying, inescapable situations, emphasizing atmosphere, raw emotion, and the crushing weight of the unknown. They are designed to make your heart pound. Conversely, the mystery stories, while undeniably suspenseful, lean more towards intricate intellectual puzzles, cunning crime narratives, and the painstaking unraveling of complex situations through keen observation and meticulous deduction, even if the initial premise seems baffling, inexplicable, or even superficially supernatural. The ultimate resolution in these tales typically brings a rational explanation to light, albeit sometimes a deeply disturbing one, or one that reveals profound human depravity. This clear structural division showcases Doyle's complete mastery of both the chilling unknown and the satisfying reveal. To understand this dynamic in action, consider a story like The Brazilian Cat as an exemplary tale of pure terror. The sheer, suffocating dread of being trapped within an enclosed space with a large, lethally dangerous predator, the slow, dawning realization of the sinister intent behind the situation, and the psychological torment inflicted upon the helpless protagonist are all meticulously designed to produce an immediate, visceral fear. There is no grand mystery to solve, only the terrifying imperative of survival against a tangible, horrifying threat, augmented by the insidious implication of human malevolence. The terror is immediate, physical, and profoundly unsettling. Contrast this with the structure, though not the content, of a classic like The Speckled Band, a Sherlock Holmes story, but an excellent template for Doyle's mystery structure, which also appears in his non-Holmes mysteries within this collection. Here, the initial elements, a cryptic dying message, a strange, piercing whistle in the dead of night, a seemingly locked room where death has inexplicably occurred, all meticulously build a powerful sense of inexplicable threat. But the core of the story is the unraveling of how the crime was committed, the careful, almost forensic, piecing together of minute clues that ultimately reveal a human villain and an ingenious, if horrifying, method. The underlying fear is certainly present, but it is inextricably intertwined with the intellectual challenge of understanding the INTR. This masterful, finely tuned balance is precisely what makes this collection a truly unique, compelling, and utterly unforgettable reading experience. Now, as you embark upon this adventure, a final word of expectation: these stories are emphatically not designed for passive consumption. They demand your active, engaged participation. When we speak of requiring a keen eye for detail, we mean paying meticulous attention to the subtle clues woven into the narrative, to the richly evocative atmospheric descriptions, to the nuanced complexities of character behavior, and to the often misleading narratives Doyle meticulously constructs. He is a profound master of misdirection and subtle foreshadowing, planting seeds of doubt and revelation with deliberate care. And when we mention needing a strong stomach for the macabre, it refers to the often graphic, disturbing, or psychologically intense content. These tales can unflinchingly delve into profound themes of madness, grotesque violence, existential horror, and profound moral decay. They do not shy away from depicting the darker, more unsettling aspects of humanity and the terrifying possibilities of the unknown that lurk just beneath the surface of everyday life. To provide a practical example, consider the raw, visceral impact of The Horror of the Heights. This is a story absolutely rife with meticulous descriptive detail, the dizzying, vertiginous descriptions of the terrifying high altitudes, the strange, ethereal aerial creatures, the psychological toll on the narrator as he descends into obsession and terror. A truly keen eye would pick up on the subtle, almost imperceptible hints of the protagonist's growing mental instability and the inherent impossibility of some of his claims, prompting the listener to wonder if the threat is external and real, or internal, a descent into madness. Yet, the story also explicitly requires a strong stomach for the sheer, overwhelming terror of being utterly alone, impossibly vulnerable, and confronted by an alien, hostile environment where established laws of nature seem to break down completely. The chilling descriptions of the jellyfish creatures and the horrifying fate of the aviators are specifically designed to evoke profound revulsion and a deep, unsettling fear. Similarly, in a story like The Leather Funnel, the detail lies less in external events and more in the protagonist's bizarre, unsettling dream sequences and their inexplicable, nightmarish connections to a historical torture device. The psychological detail of the protagonist's recurring nightmares, their vivid, distressing nature, and the implied historical trauma demands a certain mental resilience from the listener, not just for the macabre imagery itself but for the profoundly disturbing implications of shared historical suffering and psychological penetration. These are emphatically not cozy mysteries, they are narratives that challenge comfort, shatter complacency, and sometimes even test the very limits of sanity. Why does setting these expectations matter so profoundly? It is vital because it prepares you, the listener, for a truly immersive and profoundly rewarding experience, but also one that might test your psychological resilience. Without a keen eye, you risk missing the subtle linguistic traps Doyle so masterfully lays, the clever inversions of expectation, the nuanced psychological portraits that elevate these tales far beyond mere sensationalism. The seemingly insignificant details often hold the very key to unlocking the full scope of the terror or the ingenious twist of the mystery. For instance, a casually mentioned object in a room's decor might actually be a critical, albeit veiled, clue to a character's mental state, a hidden mechanism of deception, or a potent symbol of impending doom. The precise way a character speaks, their hesitant pauses, their choice of peculiar idioms, or their telling omissions, can all betray a deeper truth or a cleverly concealed lie. Doyle, the astute physician, understood that a correct diagnosis stems from Chapter 1, The Horror of the Heights. Welcome, listeners, to a journey into the dark corners of the human psyche, and indeed, the very atmosphere above us. Today, we open the pages to Chapter 1, The Horror of the Heights from Arthur Conan Doyle's chilling collection, Tales of Terror and Mystery. This isn't merely a story, it's a profound exploration, a psychological deep dive into humanity's most primal fears, meticulously crafted during an era when the sky itself was still a frontier, ripe with both wonder and unimaginable dread. Imagine, if you will, the early 20th century. The Wright brothers had barely coaxed their flimsy craft into the air a decade prior. Aviation was a fledgling marvel, a testament to human ingenuity, yet still deeply mysterious and often fatal. The very act of flight, defying gravity, was seen by many as unnatural, an intrusion into a domain never meant for mortals. It was in this fertile ground of technological infancy and ancient apprehension that Conan Doyle planted the seeds of a truly unique horror, the fear of the unknown in the boundless, silent, terrifying expanse of the upper atmosphere. Before humanity's reach stretched into space, before satellites and supersonic jets, the sky was a void, a blue curtain hiding whatever lay beyond human comprehension. This chapter brilliantly captures that particular anxiety, the unsettling notion that our perceived mastery of the physical world might be a fragile illusion, easily shattered by entities or environments beyond our terrestrial understanding. We're going to dissect this fear, examining how Conan Doyle leverages nascent aviation to tap into a universal terror, the realization that we might not be alone, nor might we be the apex predators, in an ecosystem we cannot even perceive. This is not just about a monster in the clouds, it's about the vulnerability of progress, the fragility of knowledge, and the terrifying possibility that the world, even our own atmosphere, is far stranger and more dangerous than we dare to imagine. Prepare to look up with new eyes, and perhaps, with a shiver of genuine dread. Our deep dive begins, as does the story, with a chilling artifact, the blood-stained Joyce Armstrong fragment. Conceptually, the fragment serves as the anchor for the entire narrative. It's the tangible proof, the irrefutable, physical evidence that something horrific transpired. It's not just a piece of metal or fabric, it's a relic, a silent testament to a struggle, a violent end, that defies earthly explanation. This single, cryptic object forces the reader, and indeed the characters within the story, to confront an impossible reality. It bypasses abstract fear and grounds the terror in something undeniably real, something that can be held, examined, and yet never fully understood through conventional means. The bloodstains are crucial. They speak of life, of a struggle for survival, and the ultimate, bloody conclusion of that struggle. They transform a mere metallic shard into a visceral, gut-wrenching piece of a puzzle, the rest of which remains terrifyingly blank. It's the ultimate what-if, distilled into a single, horrifying exhibit. Practically, think of the way forensic science approaches a crime scene. Every speck of dust, every fiber, every drop of fluid tells a story. The Joyce Armstrong fragment is the ultimate cold case. Imagine a modern investigator presented with this. The blood type, the cellular degradation, the microscopic analysis of the fabric all would point to a human victim, and a violent attack. But how? In the vast, empty sky. The sheer impossibility of the context heightens the dread. Historically, we can look to artifacts like the Voynich manuscript, a historical text written in an unknown language with unknown illustrations, that has baffled cryptographers for centuries. Or archaeological discoveries like the Baghdad Battery, an ancient artifact whose purpose and technology remain hotly debated. These items serve as real-world examples of fragments of knowledge that resist easy categorization, hinting at lost histories or forgotten tech. This brings us to the core terror, the encounter with the jelly-like, semi-solid entities that inhabit the jungles of the air. Conceptually, these entities represent the ultimate other. They defy conventional biological categorization. They are not animals as we know them, they are not birds, insects, or even recognizable monsters. Their description as jelly-like, semi-solid, and translucent makes them inherently unsettling. They exist in a state that blurs the lines between solid and liquid, substance and void, rendering them almost ethereal, yet horrifyingly real and deadly. The brilliant metaphor of the jungles of the air is key. It transforms the seemingly empty sky into a vibrant, albeit terrifying, ecosystem, teeming with life beyond our imagination. This redefines our understanding of the atmosphere from a passive medium to an active, predatory environment. The horror stems from their formlessness, their alienness, and their very existence in a domain we presumed was ours to traverse without challenge. They are a visceral manifestation of the cosmic dread that permeates Lovecraftian horror, predating it in some respects, proving that the truly terrifying is often that which lies just outside our comprehension, existing by rules we cannot fathom. Practically, while we don't have literal jelly monsters in our skies, the idea of undiscovered, extreme life forms is very real. Consider the deep oceans, where incredible bioluminescent creatures thrive in crushing pressures and absolute darkness, utterly unlike anything on land. Or extremophiles, bacteria, and archaea that flourish in conditions previously thought to be impossible for life, superheated volcanic vents, highly acidic pools, or even radioactive waste. These organisms force us to expand our definitions of life and inhabit ecosystems alien to our experience. The jungles of the air taps into this same scientific unease, suggesting that the seemingly empty void above us might, in fact, be a parallel world, a different kind of biosphere. We've also observed strange atmospheric phenomena, from ball lightning to unidentified aerial phenomena, which, while usually having terrestrial explanations, continue to spark curiosity and sometimes unease. The entities in the story are the ultimate extrapolation of this a fully formed, self-sustaining, alien ecosystem existing just beyond the threshold of our normal perception, making us question what else might be hiding in plain sight. It's a chilling thought that our current scientific understanding is but a tiny window into the universe's full biological diversity. Why it matters: these entities are not just scary creatures, they shatter anthropocentric worldviews. They force humanity to confront the terrifying notion that our planet, and specifically our atmosphere, is not exclusively ours. They demonstrate that life can exist in forms and environments we never conceived, challenging our biological definitions and forcing a radical re-evaluation of our place in the natural order. Moreover, they embody a primal fear of being consumed, of becoming food in an ecosystem where we are suddenly, horrifyingly, at the bottom. The sky, once a symbol of freedom and aspiration, becomes a hunting ground, a place where humanity's technological superiority is rendered irrelevant against an indigenous, perfectly adapted predator. This encounter is a powerful, humbling, and utterly terrifying assertion that we are not the masters of all we survey, and some territories are best left undisturbed. It redefines the aerial domain as a place of active, existential threat. Finally, we arrive at the profound reflection on human hubris and the terrifying notion that we are prey in an ecosystem we cannot see. Conceptually, this theme is a classic narrative warning, yet Conan Doyle imbues it with a particularly modern anxiety. Humanity, in its relentless pursuit of progress and conquest, often overestimates its own capabilities and misunderstands the true complexity and potential dangers of the natural world. The early aviators, venturing. Chapter 2, The Leather Funnel. Welcome back, listeners, to Tales of Terror and Mystery. In our last chapter, we delved into the subtle beginnings of dread, the creeping unease that whispers before it screams. Today, we step beyond mere whispers and into a chilling, visceral encounter with history itself, exploring how the profound suffering of the past can manifest in the present, not as a ghostly apparition, but through the inert touch of an object. We're venturing into the fascinating, unnerving world of psychometry and the lingering, often agonizing, energy of historical trauma. Imagine, if you will, that you are with me in a room much like the one where this chapter's chilling narrative unfolds. Picture a cozy library, firelight dancing on polished wood, the air thick with the scent of old paper and well-worn leather. Dusk has settled outside, painting the windows with shades of violet and deep blue. My friend and I are settled into comfortable armchairs, surrounded by towering shelves brimming with ancient texts on esotericism, forgotten lore, and the occult. We're deep in conversation, voices low, theorizing about the nature of reality, the boundaries of perception, and the potential for certain individuals to perceive the energetic echoes of the past. The atmosphere itself is a character here, charged with intellectual curiosity and a subtle, almost imperceptible sense of anticipation. This initial setting is not just a backdrop, it's a crucial element in understanding the subsequent events. The conceptual explanation for this environment's importance lies in what we might call perceptual priming. When we intentionally immerse ourselves in an atmosphere conducive to contemplation of the unknown, our minds become more receptive, more attuned to subtle stimuli that might otherwise be dismissed. We are, in essence, consciously lowering our cognitive filters, opening ourselves to possibilities beyond the mundane. This isn't about conjuring spirits through ritual, it's about creating a mental and emotional space where the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary seems thinner, more permeable. The discussion of the occult, the very act of pondering such profound and unsettling concepts, serves to orient our focus, making us more sensitive to anomalies that resonate with our intellectual pursuit. Consider a practical example from our real world. Think of an archaeologist sifting through the ruins of an ancient civilization, not merely looking for artifacts, but trying to feel the presence of those who once lived there, to intuit the struggles and triumphs imprinted on the very stones. Or imagine a forensic expert visiting a crime scene, not just analyzing physical evidence, but trying to get a feel for the place, to pick up on the emotional residue. These individuals, whether consciously aware of it or not, are engaging in a form of perceptual priming, using their environment and their focused intention to enhance their receptivity. The library, with its hushed reverence for history and knowledge, provides a perfect, almost sacred, space for such an opening of the senses. Why it matters to set the scene this way is profound. It underscores that these deep dives into the mysterious are rarely random occurrences. They are often preceded by periods of intellectual engagement, a deliberate seeking, or at least an openness to the unseen. It suggests that our mental state, our environment, and even the company we keep can profoundly influence our capacity to perceive and interpret phenomena that defy conventional explanation. The shared intellectual pursuit creates a resonance, a collective focus that might, in turn, amplify any subtle energies present. It's about acknowledging that while the experience itself might feel involuntary, the conditions that lead to it can often be cultivated, whether intentionally or inadvertently, by our choices and surroundings. As our conversation drifted from theoretical debates to more concrete examples of documented psychic phenomena, My friend rose and walked towards a shadowed display cabinet. With a careful. Another example could be inheriting an antique piece of jewelry from a family member who experienced a traumatic event while wearing it, and then having recurring dreams that seem to offer glimpses into that specific past moment. The dream sequence I experienced was a direct, unfiltered translation of the funnel's potent energetic signature, rendered in the immersive language of the subconscious. Why it matters to fully engage with the horror of this dream sequence is paramount because it represents the zenith of psychometric experience. It's no longer just a vague feeling or an intuitive insight, it is a full sensory, often terrifying, re-experiencing of historical trauma. This phenomenon forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of memory, the persistence of consciousness, and the very fabric of time itself. If an object can serve as a recorder and transmitter of such profound, agonizing experiences, what does that imply about the inert world around us? It suggests that the past is not simply gone, but perhaps exists in a layered present, accessible under certain conditions. It highlights the incredible, almost unbearable, weight of human suffering and its capacity to imprint itself so deeply that it can traverse centuries and invade the sanctuary of sleep, offering a horrifying glimpse into the indelible marks left by cruelty. This kind of experience blurs the boundaries of individual identity, making the pain of another, long dead, momentarily our own. The morning after the dream, the terror slowly subsided, replaced by a profound, lingering sense of sorrow and a chilling certainty that what I had experienced was far more than a mere nightmare. It was a direct connection, a transfer of suffering through the very object my friend had briefly held. This brings us to the core concept of this chapter, the idea of inanimate objects retaining the emotional imprint of violent events. The conceptual explanation for this phenomenon, often termed psychometry, posits that intense emotional energy, particularly from trauma, can leave an indelible energetic signature on nearby objects, much like a magnetic tape record's sound or a photograph captures light. Think of it as a subtle, non-physical form of data storage. When a person experiences extreme emotions, fear, pain, rage, despair, during a significant event, the energy generated by those emotions doesn't simply dissipate into the ether. Instead, it can stick or resonate with the surrounding environment and objects, particularly those that are physically present and perhaps absorbent of such energies. These objects then become repositories, capable of re-emitting or transmitting these imprints to sensitive individuals who come into contact with them. The leather of the funnel, being an organic material, might have been particularly susceptible to absorbing and retaining these energetic residues. It becomes a silent witness, a passive recorder of human agony. For a real-world practical example, consider the popular folklore surrounding haunted houses. While many such stories can be explained by natural phenomena or psychological suggestion, there are persistent accounts where specific objects within these homes are said to be focal points of paranormal activity. A rocking chair that moves on its own, a mirror that shows disturbing reflections, or an antique doll that seems to possess an eerie presence. Often, these objects are directly linked to a tragic event or intense emotional experience that occurred in the house. Another example involves murder weapons or personal items belonging to victims of violent crimes. Sensitives or even trained investigators sometimes report feeling strong emotional responses or receiving vivid impressions when handling such items, experiencing flashes of the past, feelings of dread, or even specific details that later prove to be accurate. These aren't necessarily full-blown dreams like mine, but rather strong intuitive hits, chills, or fleeting mental images that indicate an energetic connection to the object's histo. Chapter 3: The New Catacomb. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Tales of Terror and Mystery. We delve now into Chapter 3, a chilling narrative aptly titled The New Catacomb. Prepare yourselves for an exploration not just of ancient subterranean passages, but of the far more intricate and perilous labyrinth of human emotion. This tale is a masterpiece of psychological suspense, an exquisite study in cold-blooded revenge, and a visceral plunge into claustrophobia. It's a story that asks us to confront our deepest fears, those primal anxieties that lie dormant beneath the thin veneer of civilization, only to erupt when we are stripped of light, company, and hope. Imagine the earth pressing in from all sides, the silence deafening, and the crushing realization that you are alone, not by accident, but by design. This isn't merely a ghost story, it's a story of the specter within, the darkness inherent in human nature, meticulously planned and cruelly executed. Our journey today takes us beneath the surface, literally and metaphorically, into a world where ancient history collides with modern malevolence. The past becomes an unwitting stage for present-day grievances, a place where secrets are buried not just in stone, but in the hearts of those who seek them. We will witness how ambition, jealousy, and betrayal can fester, turning colleagues into antagonists, and turning shared pursuits into solitary struggles for survival. The catacombs' air, once merely damp and cool, becomes charged with palpable dread, a silent witness to a deed both petty and profound. This chapter forces us to consider the fine line between justice and vengeance, between a perceived wrong and an unforgivable act. It paints a vivid picture of isolation, not as a temporary state, but as a carefully orchestrated doom. The narrative builds with a creeping inevitability, each step deeper into the earth mirroring a step closer to an inescapable fate. Let us now descend into this new catacomb, not with shovels and brushes, but with open minds and a readiness to confront the chilling truths it holds. Our narrative introduces us to two brilliant minds, two titans in the esoteric field of Roman archaeology, Dr. Alistair Kennedy and Dr. Marcus Berger. They are presented as intellectual peers, lauded for their groundbreaking work, possessing an insatiable curiosity for the ancient world. But beneath this veneer of shared academic passion, a corrosive rivalry simmered, fueled by a potent cocktail of professional ambition and, perhaps more dangerously, romantic entanglement. Let's first consider their professional rivalry. Academics, for all their pursuit of truth and knowledge, are not immune to the intensely competitive spirit that pervades all human endeavors. Kennedy and Berger were both vying for grants, for publications in prestigious journals, for tenure, for the recognition that separates the merely excellent from the truly legendary. Imagine the pressure, the constant need to discover something new, something grand, something that would cement their legacy. Each discovery, each groundbreaking paper, was a point scored, a rung climbed. Their competition was not always overt. Often, it manifested in subtle intellectual justing during conferences, thinly veiled critiques of each other's methodologies, or a quiet urgency to be the first to announce a significant find. This intellectual sparring, while often productive, could also turn toxic, especially when personal stakes were involved. Now, layer onto this professional tension a romantic rivalry. The story hints at a shared affection for a mutual colleague, a fellow archaeologist whose heart, it seems, Kennedy had ultimately won. This is a classic narrative trope, certainly, but its power lies in its universal relatability. How many times have we seen personal feelings spill over into professional domains? The sting of rejection, the bitterness of being overlooked, the profound sense of unfairness when someone else achieves what you so desperately desired, these emotions are potent catalysts. Berger, it is implied, harbored deep resentment towards Kennedy, not just for academic triumphs, but for what he perceived as a personal betrayal, a victory in love that compounded his professional second place. The author expertly establishes this dynamic early on, painting a clear picture of two men bound by their shared passion for the past, yet irrevocably divided by their present-day grievances. The conceptual explanation here is simple yet profound. Human relationships, even among the most erudite individuals, are complex tapestries of admiration, competition, and emotional vulnerability. Why does this matter so much for our tale? Because this deep-seated rivalry provides the crucial motivation for the horrifying act that unfolds. Without understanding the depths of Berger's resentment, his actions would appear random, the senseless cruelty of a madman. Instead, they are presented as the calculated, cold-blooded revenge of a man pushed to his emotional limits, a man who saw an opportunity to inflict a punishment he felt was long overdue. It transforms the horror from external, like a monster in the dark, to internal, a monster of the human psyche. The stage isn't just set by the ancient catacombs, it's set by the ancient grudges, the very human flaws of jealousy and envy that transcend millennia. This personal history elevates the story from a simple thriller to a profound commentary on unchecked negative emotion, proving that even in scholarly environments, primal instincts of competition and retribution can hold sway, leading to terrible conclusions. It is a grim reminder that the monsters of our own making often reside within us, and they can be far more terrifying than any supernatural entity. With the characters and their simmering conflict established, the narrative propels us into the primary setting, a newly discovered Roman catacomb. This isn't just any archaeological site, it is fresh, untouched, an extraordinary find promising unparalleled insights into a forgotten era. The thrill of discovery is palpable, drawing Kennedy and Berger together despite their personal animosity. They represent the pinnacle of archaeological exploration, armed with the latest tools, but also with an almost childlike wonder at peeling back the layers of history. Imagine, if you will, the scene. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of damp earth and ancient dust. Torches flicker, casting dancing shadows that play tricks on the eyes, turning ordinary rock formations into looming, mysterious figures. The narrow passages stretch ahead, seemingly endless, winding deeper and deeper into the earth's embrace. Each step taken is a journey not just through space, but through time. The author meticulously describes the intricate network of tunnels, the carefully carved loculi, burial niches, that line the walls, silent testaments to lives lived and lost centuries ago. There are fragments of pottery, faded frescoes depicting scenes of daily life or mythological figures, inscriptions in Latin or Greek that whisper forgotten stories. Moving through this space is an exercise in claustrophobia, a constant reminder of the immense weight of the earth above, the limited air supply, and the winding, disorienting pathways that could easily lead to an irreversible wrong turn. This description isn't mere window dressing, it's a critical element in building the stories. The specific transgression for which Berger seeks retribution is hinted at, the romantic rivalry becoming the defining catalyst. He doesn't just want to win academically, he wants to erase Kennedy, metaphorically and literally, from the competitive landscape. This act is not simply leaving someone behind, it is an active severing of hope, a premeditated abandonment designed to lead to a slow, agonizing demise. The cruelty lies in the choice of method, in allowing the natural environment to become the instrument of death, rather than a direct, messy confrontation. It offers a kind of twisted psychological satisfaction for Berger. Why does this matter so profoundly? This twist is the beating heart of the horror. It elevates the story from a simple adventure or exploration tale into a chilling psychological thriller. The fear is no longer of the unknown depths, but of human malevolence. It reveals the capacity for darkness within the human spirit, demonstrating how deeply ingrained resentment can morph into lethal action. For Kennedy, the horror isn't just being trapped, it's the dawning, soul-crushing realization that a trusted colleague, someone with whom he shared a passion and history, has condemned him to this fate. This betrayal multiplies terror exponentially. It transforms the catacomb from a historical site into a living tomb, and Berger from a rival into a cold-blooded murderer. The story emphasizes that the most terrifying monsters are often those with human faces, those who walk among us, harboring secret grievances and capable of unimaginable cruelty. It forces the reader to confront the unsettling possibility that even in a highly civilized, intellectual world, primal urges for revenge can override all semblance of morality and empathy. The isolation becomes complete, a profound mental and physical agony. With Kennedy entombed alive, the narrative shifts into a profound exploration of psychological horror, drawing undeniable parallels to Edgar Allan Poe's masterpiece, The Cask of Amontillado. The terror here is not external, but internal, a slow, agonizing descent into madness born of isolation, darkness, and knowledge of deliberate malice. The conceptual explanation of this psychological horror revolves around the stripping away of all sensory comforts and human connections. Imagine, if you will, the immediate aftermath. The initial shouts for Burger, quickly turning to desperate pleas, then to hoarse, rasping cries, and finally, to a chilling silence born of realization. The absolute darkness is perhaps the most potent element. Our reliance on sight is so fundamental that its removal creates immediate disorientation and panic. Every sound is amplified, every rustle, every heartbeat, every drip of water. The mind, starved of external stimuli, turns inward, becoming its own torturer. Thoughts spiral, from frantic escape plans to bitter recriminations, to the terrifying specter of slow, inevitable death. The cold, the damp, the limited air, these physical discomforts combine with the mental anguish to create a profound sense of helplessness. Kennedy is not merely physically trapped, his spirit is being slowly crushed by the immense weight of his predicament and the chilling clarity of Burger's intent. He is left to face the consequences of a past transgression, alone, with only his thoughts for company, which become his tormentors. This isn't just about fear of death, it's about the fear of how one faces death, especially when it is orchestrated by another human being. A practical example from The Cask of Amontillado shows us the chilling effectiveness of this method. Fortunato, walled up alive by Montresor, experiences a similar progression. Initially, there's confusion, then a brief, desperate struggle, followed by a terrifying, mocking jingle of his bells. Finally, silence. Poe understood that true horror lay not in the act of entombment, but in the victim's dawning realization of their fate, the psychological torture of being aware, conscious, and utterly helpless as life slowly drains away. In Arsto. Chapter 4, The Case of Lady Sunnox. Welcome back to Tales of Terror and Mystery, where we delve into the shadowy corners of human nature and the unsettling events that unfold when ambition, obsession, and darkness intertwine. Today, we confront one of Arthur Conan Doyle's most chilling and philosophically resonant narratives, Chapter 4, The Case of Lady Sunnox. This tale is a profound exploration of the tragic consequences of jealousy and the grotesque, a narrative that descends into a macabre abyss, reflecting the darkest impulses lurking beneath the veneer of Victorian society. It's a story that forces us to question the very essence of justice, revenge, and the ethical boundaries of professional power. It beckons us to consider how easily the human mind can twist, transforming love into a monstrous tool of destruction, and how a moment of impulsive rage can irrevocably alter not just one, but multiple lives, leaving an indelible stain of horror in its wake. The story, in its unsettling precision, unpacks the psychological toll of betrayal, demonstrating how the pursuit of retribution can consume an individual, blinding them to all other considerations, and ultimately leading to a far more profound and personal tragedy than the initial slight. We are about to witness a master surgeon, a man of unparalleled skill, become both an instrument and a victim of a meticulously planned, utterly brutal act of vengeance. The layers of deception, the shocking revelation, and the immediate, visceral impact of the events make this particular chapter a standout, a truly unforgettable descent into psychological horror. It's not just a story of crime and punishment, but a deeply disturbing examination of moral decay, where the lines between healer and tormentor become terrifyingly blurred. As we journey through this narrative, prepare to confront the unsettling realities of unchecked passion and the devastating power of a mind consumed by a singular, destructive purpose. The stage is set for a narrative where the pursuit of perfection in one's craft is grotesquely repurposed for a heinous act, forever linking surgical precision with ultimate cruelty. Let's begin our deep dive into the characters and the unfolding tragedy, dissecting the narrative with the expert eye it deserves. Our story opens with the introduction of Douglas Stone, a figure of towering professional stature. Stone is a brilliant surgeon, a man whose reputation precedes him, whose hands are revered for their precision and life-saving capabilities. He moves through the elite echelons of London society, celebrated for his intellectual prowess and his unmatched surgical skill. Yet, beneath this glittering facade of professional success and societal admiration, lies a vein of profound arrogance, a hubris that, as we shall see, proves to be his tragic flaw. He is not merely confident, he is self-assured to the point of being dismissive, often viewing others as beneath his intellectual and professional standards. His genius is undeniable, but it is marred by a detached, almost clinical view of humanity, which ultimately contributes to his downfall. He embodies the archetype of the brilliant individual whose exceptional abilities are paradoxically accompanied by a severe lack of emotional intelligence and moral introspection. This blindness to his own character faults is a critical component of the unfolding tragedy, setting the stage for a fall that is as spectacular as his rise. His world is one of scientific certainty, where emotions are often seen as inconvenient distractions, a perspective that leaves him woefully unprepared for the emotional maelstrom he is about to encounter. Conceptually, Douglas Stone represents the archetypal brilliant but flawed individual. He is a genius in his field, possessing a formidable intellect and an unparalleled technical skill that places him at the apex of his profession. He is the surgeon others aspire to be, the one called upon when all hope seems lost, a true master of his craft. However, his brilliance is inextricably linked to an overweening sense of pride, an arrogance that renders him impervious to self-doubt or external criticism. This intellectual hubris is a classic literary device, setting up the tragic fall of an otherwise formidable character. It highlights the dangers of unchecked ego, suggesting that even the most gifted individuals can be brought low by their own inflated self-perception. His talent, instead of being a shield, becomes the very instrument of his undoing, exploited by another's malevolent design. His confidence, while outwardly impressive, masks a profound vulnerability, a chink in his otherwise impenetrable professional armor. It's a stark reminder that immense skill, when untempered by humility or empathy, can become a dangerous force, both for the individual and for those around them. A practical example, in a modern context, might be a celebrated tech innovator who pioneers groundbreaking algorithms or AI, revolutionizing an industry. This individual is lauded globally, their company valued in the billions, their name synonymous with cutting-edge advancement. They possess an almost prophetic insight into technological trends and an unparalleled ability to execute complex projects. However, this genius comes with a severe personality flaw. They are notoriously dismissive of their team's input, believing their own judgment to be infallible. They treat colleagues and subordinates as mere cogs in their grand vision, neglecting the human element, and often disregarding ethical implications in their relentless pursuit of innovation. Their arrogance alienates investors, leads to high staff turnover, and eventually, their groundbreaking technology is co-opted or misused by others, not because of a flaw in the tech itself, but due to their inability to collaborate or foresee human misuse. The innovator's brilliance is overshadowed by their inability to acknowledge or respect perspectives beyond their own, leading to isolation and the eventual failure or misuse of their potentially world-changing creations. Their towering intellect, unanchored by a broader understanding of human dynamics, becomes a source of their undoing, their downfall. As a real-world practical example, consider a renowned scientist approached by a shadowy organization with an offer of unlimited funding and resources for a groundbreaking research project. The catch? The research must be conducted in an isolated, undisclosed laboratory, with all findings kept strictly confidential and no external peer review. The organization promises unparalleled advancements, a chance to solve a global crisis, but the details of their ultimate objectives remain vague. The scientist, driven by the allure of scientific discovery and the prestige of such a unique opportunity, overlooks the ethical red flags, the secrecy, the lack of transparency, the potential for misuse of their discoveries. They rationalize it as a singular chance to make an unprecedented contribution, ignoring the moral implications of working without oversight for an unknown agenda. This scenario mirrors Stone's predicament, where the promise of a unique professional challenge and considerable reward overshadows the inherent dangers and ethical complexities of the situation. The scientist, much like Stone, risks becoming an unwitting tool in a larger, potentially nefarious scheme, their genius exploited for purposes beyond their understanding or control. The seduction of pushing boundaries, even into morally gray areas, is a powerful force that can lead brilliant minds astray, making them complicit in outcomes they never intended. Why does this mysterious request matter within the narrative? Its importance lies in its function as the catalyst for the entire tragedy. It is the bait that lures Douglas Stone into a meticulously crafted trap. The extraordinary circumstances force him to deviate from his standard medical practice, to operate in darkness and secrecy, physically and metaphorically. This deviation is crucial because it creates the perfect conditions for the gruesome act that follows. Had the surgery been conducted under normal, transparent conditions, the deception would have been impossible. The mysterious request is a narrative device that strips Stone of his professional safeguards, isolating him and making him a perfect instrument for another's revenge. It underscores the theme of manipulation and how a seemingly innocuous, albeit unusual, proposition can mask a sinister intent. Furthermore, it highlights the consequences of a professional sacrificing ethical vigilance for the sake of reputation, curiosity, or financial gain. This pivotal moment is where Stone, blinded by his own elevated sense of importance, steps onto the path from which there is no return, transforming from a celebrated healer into the unwitting perpetrator of a horrific mutilation. The very mystique and challenge that drew him in are precisely what allow the malevolent plan to unfold unimpeded, revealing the profound danger of professional detachment when it borders on moral apathy. It emphasizes how easily the extraordinary can be exploited by the malevolent, and how a seemingly unique professional opportunity can be a Trojan horse for personal destruction. And then, the moment of gruesome climax arrives, a revelation that shatters Douglas Stone's world and plunges the reader into a profound state of shock and horror. After successfully completing the delicate facial surgery on the veiled woman, as the bandages are removed, Stone realizes with sickening certainty that he has mutilated Lady Sunnox, the very woman he loves, the object of his intense, if unacknowledged, affections. Her beautiful face, once a source of admiration and personal longing, is now disfigured, a grotesque parody of its former self, a consequence of his own expert hands. The horror is multifaceted, the realization that he has been a pawn in a cruel game, the profound personal betrayal, and the devastating impact on the woman he cherished. This climax is not merely a plot twist, it is a visceral assault on Stone's professional identity and personal morality. His skill, once a source of pride, becomes the instrument of his deepest regret and psychological torment. The scene is Finally, the case of Lady Sunnox powerfully discusses the theme of immediate karmic retribution and the inherent fragility of social standing. Douglas Stone's fall from grace is swift and absolute. The brilliant surgeon, once revered, is left a shattered man, his professional reputation irrevocably tarnished, his personal life in ruins, and his soul haunted by the grotesque act he unwittingly performed. The justice, though cruel and indirect, is instantaneous. His arrogance, his willingness to compromise ethical standards for a unique challenge or financial reward, directly leads to his undoing. The story suggests that even the most elevated social positions are precarious, built on a foundation of public perception and professional integrity that can be shattered in a single, devastating moment. The husband's revenge is meticulously planned not only to punish his wife and her lover but also to ensure Stone's complete and utter ruin, demonstrating a profound understanding of how to dismantle a man's life piece by piece. The tale serves as a chilling reminder that actions, however seemingly detached or professionally justified, carry profound consequences, and that the scales of justice, even when manipulated, can weigh heavily and swiftly against those who err. The story resonates with the idea that some wounds, both physical and psychological, can never heal, leaving behind a lasting testament to the destructive power of human folly and vengeance. Conceptually, the story explores the idea of immediate karmic retribution, where the punishment for a character's flaws or misdeeds is swift and directly tied to the nature of their transgression. Stone's arrogance and ethical blindness lead him to a situation where his greatest strength, his surgical skill, is perverted into the instrument of his downfall. The fragility of social standing is also a central theme, illustrating how a meticulously built reputation can collapse instantaneously under the weight of scandal and public revelation. In Victorian society, where appearances and honor were paramount, such a fall would be catastrophic, stripping an individual of their very identity and livelihood. The narrative suggests that justice, or at least a form of retribution, can manifest immediately, often through unexpected and morally complex channels, rather than through formal legal processes. This immediacy makes the horror more acute, denying Stone any period of grace or opportunity for reconciliation. It underscores the destructive potential of human passions, particularly jealousy, and how they can irrevocably alter lives and reputations with astonishing speed. The justice served is not one of law, but of a darker, more personal vengeance, leaving Stone to face the consequences alone. A practical example, outside the medical field, might involve a prominent, well-respected politician known for their impeccable public image and moral pronouncements. This politician secretly engages in a long-term, scandalous affair. A vengeful individual, perhaps a scorned ex-associate or a rival, discovers the secret. Instead of immediately exposing them, they meticulously orchestrate a scenario where the politician is coerced into publicly endorsing a highly controversial, morally dubious policy or individual, leveraging their secret to force compliance. The politician, desperate to protect their reputation, caves. However, this forced endorsement triggers an immediate and massive public backlash. The media exposes their hypocrisy, the public turns against them, and their carefully constructed image of integrity shatters overnight. Their career ends, their social standing collapses, and the moral compromises they made to protect one's secret ironically lead to their utter ruin. The retribution is immediate and self-inflicted, born from the politician's own initial transgression and subsequent attempts to conceal it, directly paralleling Stone's sudden and devastating fall from grace. This example highlights how a single misstep, combined with a lack of ethical fortitude, can swiftly Thirdly, consider the tragic figure of Lady Sunnox. She is largely a silent victim in this narrative, her beauty and identity used as instruments of a husband's revenge against her lover. Her disfigurement is the most visually grotesque consequence of the plot, a permanent scar not only on her face but on her life. What does her fate say about the objectification of women, particularly in the social context of the story's era? Her physical beauty was presumably her social currency, her value in the world. To strip that away is to render a profound and cruel punishment. How does this particular form of vengeance, targeting her face, reflect the societal pressures and expectations placed upon women during that period? Was she merely collateral damage, or was she also a target of her husband's rage, a punishment for her perceived transgression against him? Reflect on the broader implications of her silencing and the profound psychological damage she must endure. Can true justice ever be found for her within the confines of this narrative, or is her suffering merely a testament to the destructive power of patriarchal control and unchecked male jealousy? Her silence is powerful. It forces us to consider the unspeakable horror she experiences, the loss of her identity, and her agency, all while remaining an almost passive, yet central, figure in this macabre drama. Fourthly, let's explore the theme of justice and retribution. The story presents a form of justice that is not legal but deeply personal and intensely brutal. Does Sir Alexander's act constitute justice, or is it a descent into pure vengeance, a monstrous act that only perpetuates a cycle of suffering? Consider the moral implications of taking such extreme measures outside the bounds of the law. While Stone and Lady Sunnox are undeniably complicit in the affair, does their transgression warrant such a horrific, life-altering punishment? This raises difficult questions about the nature of proportionality in retribution. Is there ever a justifiable reason for such a cruel and disfiguring act? Think about the long-term psychological impact on all parties involved. Sir Alexander, in his pursuit of vengeance, surely condemns himself to a life haunted by his own orchestrations. Douglas Stone is broken professionally and personally. Lady Sunnox is physically and emotionally scarred. Does this cycle of pain truly resolve anything, or does it simply underscore the futility and destructive nature of such extreme emotional responses? This invites us to ponder the difference between justice, which ideally seeks balance and restoration, and vengeance, which often leads only to further destruction. The story challenges our understanding of what constitutes a just outcome, especially when the instruments of retribution are so deeply flawed and morally compromised. Finally, reflect on the story's enduring power as a tale of terror. What makes this particular narrative so unsettling and memorable? Is it the precise, clinical nature of the mutilation, the cold calculation of Sir Alexander, or the shocking realization that a respected healer could be so easily co-opted into such a heinous act? The terror isn't supernatural, it's deeply human, rooted in the potential for cruelty and the fragility of human relationships. The story's power also lies in its subversion of expectations. We expect a surgeon to heal, not to maim. We expect love to elevate, not to be twisted into an instrument of destruction. What does this story reveal about the darker aspects of human nature that resonate across centuries? Consider how this tale taps into primal fears, the fear of betrayal, the fear of losing one's identity, the fear of being exploited, and the fear of the grotesque. The lasting impression of the case of Lady Sunnox is its ability to disturb, to make us question the capabilities of the human heart and mind when pushed to their limits by emotions as powerful and destructive as jealousy and vengeful fury. It is a testament to Conan Doyle's ability to craft narratives that are not just three. Chapter 5, The Terror of Blue John Gap. Welcome back, fellow travelers, into the heart of literary darkness, where the shadows stretch long and the secrets of the earth lie buried deep. Today, we plunge into a chapter that twists the very ground beneath our feet, unveiling a horror that lurks not in distant lands or spectral realms, but deep within the ancient, forgotten veins of our own planet. We speak, of course, of Arthur Conan Doyle's chilling masterwork, The Terror of Blue John Gap, a tale from his celebrated collection, Tales of Terror and Mystery. Here, the familiar world gives way to an abyssal dread, where the survival of prehistoric beasts challenges our understanding of life, evolution, and the very boundaries of our perceived reality. This isn't just a story about a monster, it's an unsettling meditation on what might still exist in the profound, untouched abysses of the world, echoing humanity's primal fear of the unknown and the monstrous, primordial past that sometimes, just sometimes, claws its way back to the surface. Prepare to descend with us into an adventure of subterranean horror and the spine-chilling possibility of evolutionary anachronisms. Our journey begins, conceptually, with the very setting of this terrifying narrative, the Derbyshire Caverns and the sinister legend of the Terror. Conceptual explanation: Conan Doyle masterfully crafts an atmosphere of profound isolation and ancient mystery within these geological formations. The Derbyshire Caverns, with their labyrinthine passages, echoing chambers, and perpetual darkness, become more than just a backdrop. They are an active character, a monstrous entity in themselves. They represent the unknown, the untouched, and the deeply primal. The very air in such spaces feels heavier, charged with millennia of geological processes, devoid of sunlight and the rhythms of the surface world. This environment breeds a specific type of horror, claustrophobic, disorienting, and utterly alien. The legend of the Terror is not merely a local superstition but an ancient warning, a whisper from the depths that something profoundly old and profoundly dangerous calls these subterranean realms home. It's the kind of tale born from inexplicable disappearances and unnerving sounds, growing in potency with each retelling, until it becomes an indelible part of the landscape's sinister identity. The conceptual weight here is immense, painting the earth itself as a repository of unimaginable secrets, a place where evolution might have taken a divergent, darker path. Real-world practical example: consider the real-life Peak District in Derbyshire, an area riddled with awe-inspiring cave systems like Tree Cliff Cavern or the vast subterranean networks of the Blue John Mine itself, from which the story draws its name. These places are renowned for their geological beauty, but also for their profound sense of ancientness and their often treacherous depths. Early spelunkers and miners faced unimaginable dangers, their flickering lamps barely piercing the blackness, surrounded by the crushing weight of rock above and around them. Local folklore around such places often includes tales of boggarts, goblins, or monstrous creatures guarding hidden treasures or punishing intruders. These aren't just quaint stories, they are born from the very real dangers and psychological impacts of existing in such an environment. The echoing drip of water, the sudden chill in the air, the absolute, smothering silence broken only by one's own breath, these sensations contribute to a potent cocktail of apprehension and awe. The blue johnstone itself, a rare mineral found only in these specific caverns, adds to the sense of geological uniqueness and hidden value, making the thought of something ancient guarding it all the more compelling. These tangible elements ground Doyle's fictional horror in a startlingly believable context, making the terror feel imminent and real. Why it matters: this meticulous establishment of the setting and its accompanying legend is absolutely crucial. It's not just scene setting, it is mood setting, expectation setting, and fear setting. By immersing us in the oppressive gloom and the ancient dread of the caverns, Doyle taps into universal, primal fears: the fear of the dark, the fear of confined spaces, the fear of the unknown, and the profound human discomfort with anything that reminds us of our own insignificance in the face of nature's raw power. The legend of the terror is more than a simple monster myth. It foreshadows the very real danger that will emerge, subtly preparing the reader for something truly alien. It elevates the story from a simple creature feature to a narrative that questions humanity's dominion over the natural world, suggesting that there are indeed realms where we are not the apex predator. This foundation of atmospheric horror makes the eventual revelation of the creature far more impactful, because the environment itself has become imbued with a palpable sense of menace long before the beast makes its appearance. It teaches us that sometimes, the true horror lies not just in what we see, but in the overwhelming sense of what we cannot see, lurking just beyond the reach of our limited senses, in places that have existed long before us and will persist long after. Next, we follow the intrepid doctor's investigation into the unsettling mystery of the missing sheep and the strange, guttural sounds emanating from the depths. This marks the transition from atmospheric dread to active, investigative horror. Conceptual explanation: the Doctor, our protagonist, represents the rational, scientific mind confronting the inexplicable. He arrives armed with medical knowledge and an analytical approach, intending to unravel a mystery that, at first glance, appears to be a mundane problem: livestock predation. However, as his investigation deepens, the familiar parameters of his scientific understanding begin to fray. The missing sheep are not simply dragged away, they vanish without a trace, leaving only unnerving gaps. The sounds are not those of any known animal, they are primal, alien, reverberating with an ancient quality that chills to the bone. This slow escalation of dread, where logical explanations are systematically dismissed, is the conceptual engine of this phase of the story. It is the careful, almost clinical dismantling of our comfortable worldview, replacing it with growing unease and the dawning realization that something truly extraordinary, and terrifying, is at play. The Doctor's journey becomes a proxy for our own, as we too, initially skeptical, are pulled into the vortex of the unknown. His scientific curiosity, initially a strength, slowly morphs into a vulnerability in the face of something beyond scientific classification. Real-world practical example: imagine a remote farming community experiencing a series of unexplained livestock disappearances. Initial theories might involve wolves, wild dogs, or even human poachers. Farmers would set traps, increase vigilance, and look for conventional signs of predation. But what if those signs were absent? What if the fences were undisturbed, no tracks found, and yet, sheep continued to vanish, leaving behind only an unsettling silence? This is the practical manifestation of the Doctor's predicament. Think of cases of alleged cattle mutilations or unexplained disappearances in folklore. These events spark local legends precisely because they defy common sense. In the context of the Victorian era, the boundaries of scientific knowledge were constantly being pushed, yet there remained a vast realm of the unknown. Local inhabita. Why it matters: this direct confrontation is the narrative's terrifying payoff, delivering a potent dose of visceral horror. It confirms the unspoken dread that has been building, validating the local legends and the Doctor's escalating fears. This encounter shatters the comfort of the known world, exposing a terrifying truth: humanity is not alone, nor is it always at the top of the food chain. The creature is a powerful symbol of nature's indifference and its capacity for monstrous, enduring life. By setting the encounter in darkness, Doyle not only heightens the sensory deprivation horror but also emphasizes the creature's dominion over its environment. It is perfectly adapted to a world without light, while the Doctor is rendered helpless. This scene is a masterclass in evoking terror through implication and the power of the unseen, proving that what we imagine in the dark can be far more terrifying than any fully visible monster. It forces the reader to acknowledge the vast, unexplored depths of our own planet and to question what other horrors might lie undisturbed, waiting for an unwitting explorer to stumble into their ancient domain. It's a stark reminder of our fragility and the enduring power of the wild, ancient world. Finally, we delve into a broader reflection on the Victorian fear of devolution and what truly lies beneath the surface of the Earth, tying the specific horror of Blue John Gap to deeper societal anxieties. Conceptual explanation: Conan Doyle's The Terror of Blue John Gap is more than a simple monster story. It is a chilling literary exploration of Victorian-era anxieties surrounding Darwin's theories of evolution. While Darwin's work posited progress and adaptation, it also opened a terrifying conceptual door: the possibility of devolution or the survival of primeval forms. If life could evolve, could it not also regress, or could ancient, monstrous forms persist in isolated pockets, untouched by the march of progress. This fear was deeply unsettling to a society that prided itself on scientific advancement and human exceptionalism. The creature in blue John Gap, often described with primitive, bestial features, embodies this fear. It is a living anachronism, a stark reminder that evolution isn't a one-way street to human perfection, and that the past isn't always neatly contained in history books. Furthermore, the notion of what lies beneath the surface of the earth taps into an even more profound, almost psychological dread. The earth's crust, seemingly solid and familiar, becomes a thin membrane separating us from unimaginable depths, a realm of geological time, immense pressure, and potential primordial life. It's a place beyond our control, a vast unknown capable of harboring terrors that challenge our very understanding of the world. This is not merely about physical depth, but about philosophical depth, questioning the stability and safety of our world. Real-world practical example, the Victorian era was a time of immense scientific discovery, yet also great anxiety. Darwin's On the Origin of Species 1859 shook the foundations of religious and scientific thought. While many embraced the concept of evolutionary progress, the implications of regression or the survival of primitive ancestors were deeply disturbing. H. G. Wells's Morlocks in the Time Machine 1895 are a perfect literary example of this fear of devolution, depicting a future humanity that has regressed into subterranean savagery. Similarly, geological discoveries of ancient fossils, like dinosaurs, brought the concept of deep time and extinct megafauna into public consciousness, making the idea of a living prehistoric beast less fantastical and more terrifyingly plausible. The exploration of uncharted territories, both on land and sea, also fueled the imagination, with tales of sea monsters and hidden civilizations. The very act of mining or drilling deep into the earth, a common Victorian pursuit, revealed not just resources but also a stark, alien environment, fostering a respect and fear for the planet's inner woe. Chapter 6: The Brazilian Cat. Welcome back to Tales of Terror and Mystery, where we delve into the dark corners of the human psyche and the unsettling unknown. Today, we confront the raw forces of nature and the even more formidable beast within humanity itself, as we unravel the chilling intricacies of the Brazilian cat. It is a narrative that speaks volumes about greed, betrayal, and the primal force of nature, a thrilling and disturbing tapestry woven with threads of desperate hope and cold-blooded malice. Prepare yourselves for a journey into a world where civilized veneers crack under pressure, revealing the savage heart beneath. Our story introduces us to a protagonist of aristocratic lineage, albeit one now facing a precipitous decline in fortunes. He visits his wealthy cousin, an individual whose affluence stands in stark contrast to his own dwindling resources, all in the hope of securing desperately needed financial aid. Conceptually, this opening immediately establishes a powerful dynamic, the desperation of a declining aristocracy against the backdrop of burgeoning wealth. The protagonist, once accustomed to privilege, now finds himself in a humiliating position, forced to supplicate for assistance. This isn't just about money, it's about the erosion of social standing, the profound fragility of status in a world where economic power often dictates influence and respect. His very pride, once a cornerstone of his identity, becomes a heavy burden, inhibiting a straightforward plea and complicating his interactions. The familial bond, traditionally a source of unconditional support, is here strained by immense power imbalances, creating a fertile ground for exploitation. He walks a tightrope, balancing his urgent need with the decorum and pretense that his aristocratic upbringing demands. The very act of asking for someone of his background is a profound psychological wrench, an admission of failure in a society that values self-sufficiency and inherited prosperity above all else. Consider, for a practical example, the numerous historical accounts of European aristocrats in the late 19th or early 20th century, their ancestral estates crumbling, their investments failing, yet still clinging to the outward trappings of gentility. They might covertly seek loans from newly rich industrialists or even distant relatives, enduring subtle slights and power plays as the price of their desperate attempts to maintain a semblance of their former glory. In a more contemporary context, imagine an individual from a once prominent family, now struggling with immense debt, forced to approach a highly successful but subtly disdainful relative for a loan that carries unspoken strings. The emotional toll of this dependency, the gnawing anxiety of potentially losing everything, combined with the social stigma of admitting financial ruin, creates an unbearable psychological pressure cooker. The tension in these interactions is palpable, a silent battle of wills and status, where the one with the gold invariably makes the rules. The protagonist's predicament is a timeless one, echoing through centuries of human interaction where power shifts and dependencies are forged. Why does this initial setup matter so profoundly? It is the bedrock upon which the entire edifice of terror is built. It provides a compelling, immediate motive for the protagonist to endure the unsettling eccentricities of his cousin and to remain in a potentially dangerous environment. Without this pressing financial burden, his departure would be logical, almost inevitable. This deep-seated need to secure aid elevates the stakes, transforming a mere visit into a high-stakes gamble with his very dignity and, as we discover, his life. Furthermore, it highlights the overarching theme of dependency, demonstrating how desperation can render individuals vulnerable to manipulation and cruelty. It subtly introduces the insidious nature of power, revealing how quickly familial ties can unravel when wealth and desperation clash. This opening also acts as a socio-economic commentary, exploring the stark realities of class struggle and the often merciless transition of power from old money to new, or simply from one fortunate branch of a family to another less fortunate. This underlying tension fuels the narrative, making the subsequent events not just shocking, but tragically understandable within the constructed circumstances. It makes us ponder the lengths to which an individual might go when cornered by circumstances, and the moral compromises they might be forced to consider, or even regret. Next, we encounter the cousin's peculiar and deeply unsettling obsession with his collection of exotic animals, with a particular focus on a massive, predatory black puma. This is not merely a hobby, it is a manifestation of something far darker. Conceptually, this obsession reveals a desire for absolute control over dangerous, wild elements. Possessing such creatures is a potent display of wealth and power, a declaration of one's ability to command and subdue that which is inherently untamable. It is a psychological exploration of dominance, perhaps even a sublimated form of aggression, where the raw, untamed nature of the animals reflects a hidden savagery within the collector himself. The big cat, in particular, embodies the wild's apex predator, and to own one is to metaphorically capture and tame the most formidable aspects of nature. This fascination with the wild, contained within a domesticated setting, speaks to a psychological need to transcend normal human limitations, to possess something awe-inspiring and terrifying. There's a subtle, almost perverse pleasure in witnessing these creatures, symbols of lethal grace, confined and subject to one's will. It hints at a deeper, more unsettling characteristic of the cousin, suggesting a personality drawn to danger, control, and perhaps, the suffering of others, even if only indirectly. To illustrate, consider historical figures like King Louis XIV of France, who maintained a magnificent menagerie at Versailles, filled with lions, tigers, and even an elephant. These animals were not kept for scientific study or conservation, but as symbols of his absolute power, exotic curiosities to entertain and impress, and a stark reminder of his control over all domains, both. It serves as the ultimate test of the protagonist's resilience, forcing him to confront not only his own mortality but also the true depths of his cousin's villainy. The calculated nature of the trap reveals the cousin as a truly monstrous figure, whose greed and malice far outweigh any familial ties or human empathy. This event pushes the narrative beyond a simple tale of misfortune, transforming it into a searing exploration of good versus evil, of human limits, and the desperate fight for existence. It forces the audience to consider profound questions about justice, revenge, and the fragility of life when confronted with such deliberate cruelty. The confined setting, the immediate threat, and the chilling betrayal combine to create an unforgettable, visceral horror that resonates long after the page is turned or the audio track concludes. It is a moment designed to shock, to appall, and to forever redefine the relationship between the characters and the reader's understanding of their world. Finally, we arrive at the profound analysis of the beast itself, its duality as both the literal, terrifying black puma and the cousin's insidious, murderous greed. This thematic core elevates the story from a simple survival thriller to a commentary on human nature. Conceptually, this duality invites us to consider the metaphorical interpretation of the beast. The black puma is the externalized evil, a primal force of nature, driven by instinct and hunger. It is terrifying in its raw, unthinking power. However, the cousin's greed represents an internalized evil, a malevolence born of human choice, calculation, and a corrupt heart. This human evil, arguably, is far more terrifying because it possesses consciousness, intent, and the capacity for premeditated cruelty. The narrative blurs the lines between man and beast, suggesting that human malevolence can not only rival but often surpass the savagery of the animal kingdom. The beast is not just the creature with claws and fangs, it is also the voracious, insatiable desire that drives individuals to commit unspeakable acts against their own kind. It highlights the disturbing truth that monsters are not always mythical creatures of the wild. Sometimes, they wear human faces and dwell within the gilded cages of society. This perspective forces a re-evaluation of what constitutes true horror. Is it the instinctual hunt of an animal, or the cold, calculated cruelty of a human being? For a real-world practical example, we can turn to countless tales of human depravity driven by covetousness. In fiction, characters like Ebenezer Scrooge, initially, or the more sinister villains of psychological thrillers, are consumed by an insatiable lust for wealth, leading them to exploit, betray, and even murder. Consider the historical accounts of land grabs, colonial conquests, or corporate espionage, where the pursuit of material gain led to immense suffering and loss of life. Psychological studies of greed often reveal it as a destructive force, capable of overriding empathy and moral boundaries, transforming individuals into self-serving entities devoid of compassion. When we speak of monsters among us, we often refer to individuals whose actions, driven by unchecked desire, cause immense harm, contrasting them with literal monsters from folklore. The destructive power of unchecked desire, the way it can warp perception and justify heinous acts, is a recurring theme throughout human history and culture. The cousin, driven by his base desires, represents this chilling reality, making him a more complex and ultimately more frightening antagonist than the animal itself. Why does this duality matter so profoundly in The Brazilian Cat? It elevates the entire story beyond a simple survival tale, transforming it into a profound commentary on human nature and the inherent darkness that can reside within. By presenting the beast in this dualistic manner, the narrative forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, that the greatest threats often come not from the wild, but from within our own SPE. Chapter 7, The Lost Special. Welcome back, listeners, to another deep dive into the extraordinary mind of Arthur Conan Doyle. Today, we peel back the layers of a truly perplexing tale, one that challenges our very understanding of what constitutes an impossible crime. We embark on a journey into Chapter 7, The Lost Special, a narrative from tales of terror and mystery that presents a conundrum so profound, so audacious, it could only have sprung from the imagination of a master storyteller. Imagine, if you will, the perfect impossible crime. Not a jewel vanishing from a locked vault, nor a body discovered in an impenetrable room. No, this is something far grander, far more audacious. We are talking about the disappearance of an entire train. A colossal, roaring beast of iron and steam, explicitly hired, meticulously prepared, only to vanish into thin air between two well-known stations. The very idea sends a shiver down the spine, doesn't it? It defies logic, it mocks the visible world, and it leaves an indelible mark on anyone who dares to contemplate its solution. This is the stage set for The Lost Special, a story that begins with an act of vanishing so absolute, so complete, that it forces us to question the very fabric of reality, or at least, the reality of the railway tracks beneath our feet. Let's dissect this impossible premise, beginning with the vanishing act itself. The premise: a train explicitly hired for a secret journey vanishes between two stations. Conceptual explanation: the core of this mystery lies in its sheer scale and the public nature of its setting. Trains are not subtle. They are massive, noisy, and bound to steel rails that traverse open landscapes. For such an object to simply cease to exist along a defined route challenges fundamental laws of physics and common sense. It's not a misdirection of a small object, it's the vanishing of an entire apparatus of transportation. The crime isn't just a theft, it's a profound act of concealment that requires ingenuity on a monumental scale. It implies a level of planning and execution that borders on the fantastical, yet Doyle grounds it firmly in the industrial age, making its impossibility all the more potent. The very concept of a train, a symbol of progress and predictable movement, disappearing without a trace, strikes at the heart of Victorian-era faith in order and logic. It's an intellectual affront, a direct challenge to the idea that everything can be accounted for. Real-world practical example within the story's context: consider the specific scenario Conan Doyle presents. A private train is commissioned for a highly secretive journey. It's not a regular passenger service, susceptible to routine delays or minor incidents. No, this is a special, bespoke arrangement, indicating a level of importance and perhaps, vulnerability. The train departs from its origin station, a known point, its engine hissing, steam escaping, wheels grinding. Passengers are accounted for, the guard gives the all-clear, and it steams off into the night or early morning. Everyone expects it to arrive at its destination, the next scheduled stop, at a predictable time. But it doesn't. Time passes. Then, alarm. Panic. The train is gone. It vanished somewhere along the stretch of track between point A and point B, a distance perhaps of many miles, but nonetheless a finite and observable corridor. Imagine the engine, the tender, a single carriage. This is a significant ensemble, not a toy. Its absence creates an enormous void, a physical gap in the railway timetable, and a mental chasm for those trying to comprehend it. No wreckage, no telltale smoke, no sound of a collision echoing across the fields. Just emptiness where a powerful machine should be. Why it matters: this audacious vanishing act is crucial because it immediately elevates the mystery beyond a simple crime. It becomes an impossible puzzle, a true locked room on an industrial scale. It challenges our cognitive frameworks, forcing us to discard preconceived notions about how trains operate and what constitutes disappearance. The letter doesn't just provide a solution, it provides a framework for understanding the solution, often by challenging fundamental assumptions the official investigators have held. It's an intellectual challenge disguised as an answer, designed to provoke thought and re-evaluation. Real-world practical example within the story's context: imagine the public outcry, the journalistic frenzy, the official embarrassment. Then, a newspaper office receives a meticulously typed or carefully handwritten letter. It's concise, precise, and utterly audacious in its claims. It doesn't accuse anyone directly, nor does it provide sensational details. Instead, it calmly postulates a scenario so ingenious, so intricate, that it initially seems even more unbelievable than the disappearance itself. It might describe a disused siding, long overgrown, now meticulously cleared and hidden. Or perhaps a temporary track laid under the cover of darkness, disguised to look like an undisturbed continuation of the main line. It suggests that the train was never meant to derail or explode, but merely to be diverted, concealed, and dismantled, perhaps, in a hidden depot. The letter details how the tracks might have been altered, how signals could have been manipulated, all within the time frame of the train's journey. It implies a sophisticated team, working with precision and perfect timing, exploiting overlooked details of the railway system. The letter acts as a key, turning the lock on the impossible room, not by revealing the contents directly, but by showing where the keyhole was all along. Why it matters: this letter is critical because it represents the triumph of intellect and deductive reasoning over brute force inquiry. It demonstrates that the most complex problems often have solutions that, in retrospect, seem simple, provided one possesses the correct perspective. It's a quintessential Doylean moment, illustrating that genius lies not just in finding clues, but in interpreting their absence, in connecting disparate pieces of information, and in imagining possibilities beyond the conventional. The hint of Holmes's involvement or a similar intellect elevates the stakes, assuring the reader that a truly brilliant mind is at play, guiding the narrative towards a satisfying, if surprising, conclusion. It matters because it shifts the narrative from a desperate search to an intellectual chase, and fundamentally, it provides the catalyst for the ultimate understanding of the Lost Special's fate. It is the moment where the impossible begins to recede, replaced by the merely improbable, and ultimately, the ingeniously plausible. Finally, we consider the deeper appeal of this particular type of mystery. The allure of the locked room mystery on a grand, industrial scale. Conceptual explanation: the locked room mystery is a subgenre that has captivated audiences for centuries. At its heart is a puzzle, a crime committed under seemingly impossible circumstances, usually within an enclosed space from which neither perpetrator nor victim could have entered or exited. Doyle masterfully expands this concept, taking it from a claustrophobic room to the expansive, yet equally constrained, environment of a railway line. The locked room becomes miles of open track, bordered by fields, forests, and small communities. The victim isn't a single person, but a massive train. The impossible circumstances are the visible, unblemished tracks and the absence of any trace of the train. This grand scale amplifies the feeling of impossibility and the intellectual challenge. It leverages the predictability and order of the industrial world. Trains run on rails, follow schedules, and are too large to simply vanish to create a sense of profound disorder when that predictability is violated. The allure stems from the human desire to understand, to rationalize, and to solve puzzles that seem to defy all rational explanation. Real-world practical example within the story's context. Contrast a classic locked room setup, a murder in a study, the doors and windows BA. A crime of this scale requires significant resources and dedication, suggesting a powerful motive behind the elaborate execution. 5. Brainstorm beyond the obvious. Don't limit yourself to conventional criminal acts. If the train vanished, could it have been disassembled? Could it have been hidden in plain sight, perhaps in a cleverly disguised structure? Could the timing of its disappearance be key? For example, if it disappeared during a major event that diverted attention, or during a routine maintenance window that provided cover for track alterations. The less obvious, the more likely it might be the key to an impossible crime. Common mistakes related to this chapter. 1. Dismissing the implausible too quickly. Readers sometimes fall into the trap of rejecting explanations that seem too far-fetched, even when the initial premise of vanishing train is already highly implausible. The solution to an impossible crime often must be ingenious and therefore, initially, seem implausible. Don't let your initial skepticism blind you to potential solutions. The greatest deceptions often hide in plain sight or through a sleight of hand that seems too simple to be true. 2. Over-focusing on catastrophe. Given a disappearing train, the natural inclination is to imagine a spectacular accident or an explosive event. This is exactly what Doyle wants you to do. By diverting your attention to catastrophic possibilities, he steers you away from the more subtle, but equally effective, methods of concealment. Remember, the story explicitly states a lack of physical evidence, which contradicts any scenario involving a major accident. 3. Underestimating the criminal's intelligence. The crime itself, particularly its impossible nature, is a testament to the criminal's genius. A common mistake is to try and solve it with conventional criminal thinking. Instead, assume the perpetrator is as intelligent, if not more so, than the master detective. This shifts your perspective and opens up more elaborate, meticulously planned possibilities. 4. Ignoring the context of the time. Victorian railways, while advanced for their era, had specific operational procedures, communication methods, and infrastructure. They were not modern railways with GPS tracking and instant radio communication. Understanding these limitations and possibilities is crucial. For example, a disused spur line might have been more easily camouflaged and reactivated in that period than today. 5. Looking for too much evidence. The story specifically highlights the lack of physical evidence. A mistake is to keep searching for signs of wreckage or struggle. Instead, the lack of evidence is the evidence. It points towards a specific kind of crime, one of perfect concealment, rather than violent disruption. If there's no trace, it's because great effort was made to leave none. The Lost Special is more than just a short story, it is a masterclass in building an impenetrable mystery and then, with surgical precision, revealing its brilliant, yet simple, solution. It's a reminder that often, the truth is not hidden, but merely overlooked, obscured by our own expectations and assumptions. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to question what we see, and to appreciate the profound power of human ingenuity, whether for good or for ill. So, the next time you hear a train whistle, perhaps you'll spare a thought for those magnificent machines, and the strange, impossible fates that fiction, at least, can bestow upon them. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of one of Conan Doyle's most intriguing tales. Until next time, keep your wits sharp and your assumptions in check. Chapter 8, The Beetle Hunter. Welcome back to our exploration of the chilling depths of human nature, as unveiled by the master storyteller, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Today, we delve into Chapter 8, The Beetle Hunter, a narrative that brilliantly illuminates the incredibly thin, often imperceptible line between what we might casually dismiss as scientific eccentricity and the truly terrifying precipice of madness. This chapter isn't merely a tale of suspense, it's a psychological dissection, a cautionary examination of how ambition, rivalry, and a singular, relentless focus can warp the human spirit beyond recognition, transforming what begins as a passionate, even admirable, pursuit into something profoundly sinister. It asks us to look closely at those driven by an all-consuming devotion, to question where their intellectual brilliance ends and where their darker, more dangerous compulsions begin. How many times have we encountered individuals whose singular focus seems admirable, yet carries an undercurrent of something unsettling, something just slightly off-kilter? This story forces us to confront that disquieting ambiguity. Our journey into this unsettling world commences with the introduction of a seemingly ordinary, yet acutely vulnerable figure, a bright, earnest medical student. He is hired to accompany an eccentric entomologist, Dr. J.H. Vanderpert, on what he believes is a purely scientific expedition, a quest for rare beetles. The conceptual explanation for this dynamic is simple yet potent. It's the classic narrative trope of the naive apprentice drawn into the orbit of a charismatic, albeit peculiar, master. The student, likely driven by a thirst for knowledge, perhaps a need for income, or simply the allure of assisting a renowned expert, enters this arrangement with an open mind and a sense of professional curiosity. He expects a rigorous, perhaps even peculiar, scientific venture, certainly not a descent into the macabre. This initial trust, this professional innocence, is precisely what makes him such a compelling and ultimately pitiable pawn in the unfolding drama. It highlights the vulnerability of youth and ambition when confronted with unmasked malice disguised as scholarly pursuit. Consider this in a broader context. Imagine a talented, eager junior researcher joining a lab headed by a celebrated but notoriously quirky professor. The junior researcher, blinded by the professor's reputation and the promise of groundbreaking work, readily overlooks the professor's odd habits, the strange requests, the occasional flashes of inexplicable anger. The expectation is that any peculiarities are simply part of the genius, part of the process of working with a brilliant, unconventional mind. This type of relationship, where one party holds significant power and the other seeks knowledge or advancement, creates fertile ground for manipulation. Why it matters is profound. This setup immediately establishes a sense of imbalance, a subtle power dynamic that will be exploited. It grounds the horror not in fantastical monsters, but in the insidious betrayal of professional trust. It reminds us that often, the most dangerous situations arise not from obvious threats, but from the slow erosion of boundaries and the exploitation of good faith, especially within environments where intellectual prowess is revered above all else. The student's initial acceptance of the role, his eager willingness to assist, becomes the very mechanism of his impending peril. As our young medical student arrives at Dr. Vanderpert's abode, he is immediately enveloped by an atmosphere that is nothing short of uncanny. The beetle hunter's home isn't merely a house, it's a physical manifestation of its owner's singular, all-consuming obsession, a silent, dust-laden testament to a mind slowly but surely detaching from the mundane realities of the world. The conceptual explanation here lies in the powerful role of setting in Gothic and psychological horror. The environment itself becomes a character, speaking volumes about the inhabitants' inner state. Every detail, from th. To paint a vivid real-world practical example, envision those sprawling, antiquated houses often depicted in classic mystery novels. Think of Miss Havisham's Satis house in Great Expectations, though perhaps without the outright decay, yet certainly with the overwhelming sense of stasis and the palpable presence of an arrested life. Or consider the laboratories of historical figures renowned for their peculiar habits, where specimens were stacked high, strange apparatuses gleamed in dim light, and the very air hummed with an almost unnatural stillness, broken only by the scratching of a pen or the quiet rustle of some ancient tome. These are places designed not for comfort or social interaction, but for solitary, often obsessive, work. They are spaces that prioritize the object of obsession over all human connection. This atmosphere serves as a critical, unspoken warning, a visual and sensory prelude to the psychological distortions that will soon be revealed. Why it matters is crucial for building suspense and understanding the narrative's psychological underpinnings. This eerie environment functions as a slow burn signal, a visceral clue that something is fundamentally wrong. It primes the listener for the coming revelations, subtly suggesting that the eccentricity of the owner runs far deeper than mere academic peculiarity. It creates an unsettling disjunction between the student's initial expectations and the chilling reality of his surroundings, marking the true beginning of his unsettling ordeal. The house is not just a backdrop, it is a cage, a tomb, a museum of a crumbling mind. The most shocking and utterly terrifying revelation of the beetle hunter shatters any lingering illusions of scientific purity or benign eccentricity. We discover the true, horrifying purpose of the student's visit. He is not merely an assistant, he is bait. He has been lured into this isolated, peculiar world to serve as a decoy, a pawn in Dr. Vanderpert's elaborate, venomous scheme to ensnare a jealous rival. The conceptual explanation for this twist is a stark plunge into the darkest aspects of human nature, profound betrayal and the chilling devaluation of human life. The student, who entered with an innocent heart and professional aspirations, is reduced to a tool, a means to an end in a deeply personal, malevolent vendetta. This is where the story pivots from psychological suspense to outright terror, as the protagonist realizes he is not merely observing madness, but is caught directly within its deadly machinations. The professional pretense has dissolved, revealing a cold, calculating use of another individual for purely destructive ends, demonstrating a complete lack of empathy. For a chilling real-world practical example, one might draw parallels to tales of espionage or extreme corporate warfare, where unwitting individuals are used as leverage or traps. Consider historical accounts of double agents who are unknowingly sacrificing someone else, or scenarios where individuals are deliberately placed in harm's way to draw out a target. While often fictionalized, the psychological core resonates: the cold, instrumental use of another person's trust and vulnerability for a selfish, often destructive, goal. It's the ultimate violation of human dignity, stripping an individual of their agency and reducing them to an object. Why it matters is profound and disturbing. This revelation completely recontextualizes everything that has come before. The beetle hunter's eccentricity is now exposed as a facade for a deep-seated, homicidal obsession. It forces us to confront the terrifying reality that not all dangers are external or fantastical. Some of the most profound threats come from within the human psyche, masked by civility or expertise. This narrative turn emphasizes the horrifying potential for calculated malice, turning an academic rivalry into a matter of life and death, and underscoring the chilling truth that some minds are capable of truly dehumanizing others in pursuit of their twisted aims. The student's life, once his own. It forces you to look for the nuances that often escape initial detection, reinforcing the chapter's theme that dangerous intentions can hide in plain sight. It's about discerning the difference between genuine eccentricity and something more pathological. Third, reflect on the concept of harmless hobbies as a mask. Can you think of any real-world examples, historical or contemporary, where an individual's seemingly benign or even admirable passion was later revealed to be intertwined with darker, more destructive aspects of their personality or actions? This exercise broadens the scope of your thinking beyond the immediate narrative, encouraging you to apply the chapter's themes to a wider understanding of human behavior. It reinforces the idea that appearances can be deceiving, and that the roots of harmful actions can often be found in the twisted corners of what seems entirely innocuous. It makes you question the nature of passion itself, and at what point dedication crosses into destructive obsession. This introspection allows us to recognize the potential for such transformations not just in fictional characters, but in the complex tapestry of human experience around us. It is a powerful reminder to always remain vigilant, not just against obvious threats, but against the insidious creeping darkness that can take root in the most unexpected places. The Beetle Hunter is more than a thrilling short story, it's a profound psychological warning. It is a narrative that challenges our perceptions of genius, eccentricity, and the deeply unsettling potential for human malevolence to masquerade under the guise of intellectual pursuit. Conan Doyle masterfully crafts a tale that lingers long after the final word, prompting us to scrutinize the shadows that can fall even across the brightest minds. Chapter 9: The Man with the Watches. Welcome back, listeners, to another engrossing chapter in our exploration of Arthur Conan Doyle's tales of terror and mystery. Today, we delve into Chapter 9, The Man with the Watches, a narrative that masterfully intertwines the threads of identity, the deceptive nature of disguise, and the sheer, often cruel, randomness of fate. Imagine, if you will, the mundane journey of a train, a routine trip across the countryside, suddenly punctuated by a discovery so bizarre, so utterly out of place, it rips through the fabric of everyday reality and exposes the hidden currents of a life lived on the edge. This is not just a detective story, it is a profound meditation on how closely our past clings to us, how easily a meticulously crafted new identity can crumble, and how a single, seemingly innocuous item can unlock a torrent of buried secrets. It compels us to question what we truly know about the people around us, and indeed, about ourselves. Our journey into this chapter begins with the tantalizing setup of a profoundly unsettling mystery, the discovery of a dead man in a train carriage, not merely deceased, but adorned with a most peculiar collection, 6 pocket watches. This isn't simply a detail, it's a profound narrative hook, an immediate signal that something is deeply amiss, that the conventional rules of the world have been subtly yet forcefully broken. The conceptual explanation here lies in Doyle's brilliant use of incongruity to immediately establish a sense of profound mystery. Why 6 watches? Not 1, not 2, but half a dozen. Each watch ticking to a different time, perhaps, or all stopped, or all in perfect working order, creating an immediate, almost surreal image that demands explanation. This excess, this deliberate over-provision, elevates the scene from a simple death to an enigma wrapped in an absurdity. It pushes the reader, and indeed the investigators within the story, to look beyond the obvious, to search for meaning in the peculiar. A real-world practical example of this kind of setup might be found in historical cold cases, where a victim is discovered with an item so out of place or so uniquely specific that it becomes the cornerstone of the investigation. Consider the Isdal woman case from Norway, where a woman found dead had an array of highly unusual possessions, multiple wigs, different disguises, and an almost entirely erased paper trail. It wasn't just her death, but the highly specific, almost theatrical nature of her belongings that immediately signaled a deeper, more complex story involving espionage or a life lived under deep cover. Her many passports with different names, her unidentifiable language skills, these were her 6 watches, each adding a layer of bewildering intrigue. Why it matters? This initial setup is crucial because it does more than just present a puzzle, it lays the psychological groundwork for the entire narrative. It forces us, as listeners and readers, to suspend our disbelief and engage actively in the process of detection. It creates an immediate sense of urgency and wonder. Without this striking initial image, the story might simply be another tale of a mysterious death. With the watches, it becomes something iconic, something that lodges itself in the mind and dictates the very questions we ask. It illustrates Doyle's genius in using a singular, bizarre detail to propel a narrative, transforming a simple crime scene into a profound exploration of human eccentricity and concealed lives. It underscores that sometimes, the most peculiar details are not distractions but rather the very keys to understanding a situation's true depth. Following this initial shock, the narrative skillfully leads us down the trail of clues, each piece of evidence, each fragment of information, carefully picked up by the investigators to piece together the identity of the dead man and understand the strange context of his behavior. The conceptual explanation here is about the methodical, often painstaking, process of forensic investigation and deduction. It's about taking C. The conceptual explanation for this phase of the story is the concept of poetic justice, or more precisely, the idea that one's past, particularly a past marked by criminal activity, has a way of catching up, often through unforeseen circumstances. It speaks to the inescapable nature of one's history and the difficulty, if not impossibility, of truly shedding a former identity. The man's disguise, both physical and social, is revealed to be a fragile construct, easily shattered by an unexpected encounter. His strange behavior, including the watches, gains a chilling clarity when viewed through the lens of his previous life and his desperate attempts to maintain his new persona. For a real-world practical example, think of individuals who live under witness protection programs or those who have successfully evaded capture for years after committing a serious crime. They often construct entirely new lives, new identities, with meticulous care. However, even the most elaborate disguises can be undone by a chance encounter, a former associate recognizing a face in a crowd, a unique mannerism betrayed, or a specific object connecting them to their old life. Stories abound of notorious criminals who, after decades of living a quiet, unassuming life under an assumed name, are brought to justice because of a single, almost improbable happenstance, a chance meeting, or the discovery of an old photograph that links them to their past. It underscores the fragility of constructed identities. Why it matters. This revelation of a criminal past and a fatal coincidence is the narrative's climax. It's where the disparate pieces of the puzzle suddenly snap into place, creating a powerful sense of understanding and sometimes, even tragedy. It deepens our appreciation for the layers of human experience, the capacity for reinvention, the burden of guilt, and the relentless march of consequence. It serves as a potent reminder that while we might try to escape our histories, the world has a way of holding us accountable. Furthermore, it highlights the tragic irony inherent in such situations. The very measures taken to ensure safety or anonymity can sometimes be the very elements that lead to downfall. The watches, initially a symbol of mystery, become symbols of a desperate man trying to manage time, perhaps to time his escape, only for time itself to run out in the most unexpected way. This twist is the heart of Doyle's storytelling, transforming a simple whodunit into a profound exploration of human destiny. Finally, The Man with the Watches offers a profound reflection on one of Arthur Conan Doyle's recurring themes, that truth is often stranger than fiction. This isn't merely a quaint observation, it's a foundational philosophical stance that permeates much of his work, particularly in tales of mystery and the unexpected. The conceptual explanation here is that human reality, with all its quirks, coincidences, and unforeseen turns, frequently outstrips the most elaborate inventions of the human imagination. What seems implausible in a narrative can often be profoundly, even chillingly, true in life. Doyle delights in presenting scenarios that initially appear fantastical, only to reveal them as the logical, albeit convoluted, outcome of real-world pressures, human follies, and chance encounters. The Six Watches, the dead man, the criminal past, the chance encounter, taken individually, they are unusual. Combined, they form a narrative arc that feels impossibly complex, yet ultimately proves to be a chilling reality. Consider a real-world practical example of this phenomenon: the sheer unlikelihood of certain historical events or the bizarre details uncovered in true crime investigations. The story of Ferdinand Waldo de Mara Jr., the great impostor, who successfully posed as a surgeon, a prison warden, a monk, and many other professionals without formal training, is a testament to truth being stranger than fiction. His ability to assume complex identities and perform challenging roles, often saving lives, is a narrative that wow. These mental exercises are not just academic pursuits, they are practical ways to enhance your critical thinking and observational skills, to make you a more discerning reader of both fiction and the world around you. They demonstrate how the themes explored in The Man with the Watches are not confined to the pages of a book but resonate deeply within our everyday lives, challenging us to look closer, think deeper, and always question the surface. As we conclude our deep dive into this fascinating chapter, remember that sometimes, the most extraordinary truths are hidden in the most unexpected details, waiting for a keen eye and an open mind to discover them. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to our next exploration into the compelling world of Arthur Conan Doyle. Chapter 10: The Japanned Box. Good day, dear listener, and welcome back to our journey through the shadowy corners of the human psyche, as illuminated by the masterful narratives of Arthur Conan Doyle. Today, we peel back the layers of a particularly poignant tale, The Japanned Box, a story less about overt terror and more about the quiet, pervasive dread born from misunderstanding, grief, and the profound isolation that can grow within the walls of a seemingly ordinary home. It is a narrative that masterfully explores the intricate dance between family secrets and the often misleading echo of sounds, demonstrating how easily our perceptions can warp reality, transforming the mundane into the menacing, and the deeply personal into something sinister. This is a chapter that reminds us that sometimes, the most profound mysteries are not those involving cunning criminals or supernatural entities, but rather the silent struggles of the human heart, hidden in plain sight, amplified by suspicion, and ultimately unveiled by a touch of empathy. Prepare to delve into a world where a locked container holds not a treasure, but a tragedy, and where muffled voices speak not of illicit rendezvous, but of enduring love beyond the grave. The story immediately plunges us into an atmosphere thick with unspoken anxiety, centered squarely on the household's master and his peculiar, almost reverential, obsession with the japanned box. This isn't just any locked container, it's a constant, silent presence, radiating an unsettling aura that permeates every corner of the house. The master's meticulous care, his possessiveness, and the palpable secrecy surrounding this object create a low hum of tension, a kind of domestic dissonance that disrupts the natural rhythm of family life. Imagine the constant, nagging question, what could be so important, so private, so utterly captivating, that it demands such singular devotion from the head of the household? This preoccupation isn't merely a character quirk, it's a disruptive force that breeds suspicion, turning intimacy into an unspoken interrogation. The other household members, particularly the observant tutor, find themselves walking on eggshells, constantly aware of this enigmatic object and the unspoken rules it imposes. Its very existence implies a hidden world, a secret life, amplifying the unsettling mystery, pushing his household into fearful speculation. To draw a real-world parallel, consider living with someone who maintains a hidden compartment or a locked diary, always kept out of sight, handled with profound secrecy. Perhaps a parent with an old, locked chest, or a spouse keeping a particular drawer perpetually locked, responding with defensiveness when questioned. This isn't necessarily about criminal intent, it's about the erosion of trust and the rise of uncomfortable conjecture. Concealing something, regardless of its innocuous nature, generates immense psychological pressure. The human mind, prone to narrative creation, will invariably fill in the blanks, often with scenarios more dramatic or sinister than the truth. The lack of transparency becomes a void, populated by fears, anxieties, and suspicions, gnawing at familial comfort. The master's obsession with the japanned box functions precisely in this way, transforming a mundane object into a symbol of burgeoning fear and estrangement. Why does this matter? This narrative element illustrates the destructive power of secrecy, even when rooted in personal, non-malicious reasons. It highlights how a refusal to share, to communicate openly, can poison relationships and create mistrust. The japanned box is a metaphor for uncommunicated burdens, private sorrows we refuse to articulate, and the walls we inadvertently build. Conan Doyle shows us that true terror isn't always external, it can fester internally, a slow-burning fire of suspicion fueled by silence. The master's inability to share his grief, to articulate his devotion to the memory contained within the box, isolates him and inadvertently terrorizes his household. This focus on the psychological impact of "and the woman's voice that terrified the tutor?" It is the voice of the master's deceased wife, preserved on wax cylinders, playing back her loving words, her songs, her very essence, allowing him to reconnect across the chasm of death. This extraordinary truth transforms the master's obsession from something sinister into an act of profound, heartbreaking devotion. His secrecy, once interpreted as guilt, is now understood as an intensely private ritual of grief, a desperate attempt to keep a beloved memory alive. The muffled sounds, once perceived as cries for help or illicit affairs, are revealed as echoes of a love that transcends mortality, a solitary communion with a departed soul. It's a moment of breathtaking emotional honesty, dissolving fear and suspicion with a single, gentle stroke of revelation. To consider a modern equivalent, imagine someone meticulously preserving voice messages, old video clips, or digital recordings of a loved one who has passed away. They listen late at night, in solitude, finding solace and connection in familiar tones. While intensely private, it's rarely viewed as suspicious. In a pre-widespread recording world, the phonograph was a miraculous means of preserving a loved one's presence. For the master, it was his most cherished possession, his direct link to past happiness. His guardedness was not malevolence, but immense vulnerability and a fierce desire to protect this fragile, irreplaceable connection. It's a testament to the enduring human need to retain vestiges of those we've lost, to keep their voices, their spirit, alive within our own lives, even if it means retreating into a private world of remembrance. The profound importance of this revelation lies in its masterful subversion of expectation and deep exploration of human grief. It shatters the preconceived notions of terror and crime Conan Doyle expertly constructs, presenting a mystery whose resolution is not shocking in its horror, but in its exquisite tenderness. This twist elevates the story beyond a mere genre piece, imbuing it with universal emotional resonance. It reminds us that what appears dark and mysterious is often born from deep personal pain and complex ways individuals cope with loss. The story becomes a powerful statement on empathy, urging us to look beyond initial appearances and consider hidden emotional landscapes. It champions understanding over judgment, revealing that the most powerful forces at play are often love and sorrow, rather than malice or deceit. This climactic unraveling solidifies the Japanned box not as a conventional crime story, but as a poignant mystery deeply rooted in human emotion, particularly grief. Unlike many of Conan Doyle's tales that hinge on logical deduction leading to criminal apprehension, this narrative deliberately steers away from the sensationalism of felony, instead drawing its power from the quiet tragedy of loss and the profound human yearning for connection beyond the grave. The mystery here isn't who committed a crime, but what intense personal sorrow could manifest in such an enigmatic and terrifying way. The story becomes a meditation on the invisible burdens people carry and the often misunderstood mechanisms of coping with unbearable absence. It's a testament to the author's versatility, showcasing his ability to craft narratives that explore the internal landscapes of characters with as much skill as he dissects external puzzles. In a practical sense, consider how often we encounter individuals whose behavior seems peculiar or withdrawn after a significant loss. A person might develop an unusual routine, become fiercely protective of certain belongings, or retreat into solitude. From an external viewpoint, without the crucial context of their bereavement, these actions might appear strange, suspicious, or even indicative of some hidden impropriety. A neighbor might wonder why someone keeps their curtains perpetually drawn, or why they spend hours in a seemingly empty room, conversing with no one visible. Our immediate societal impulse, often fueled. Chapter 11, The Black Doctor. Welcome, esteemed listeners, to Chapter 11 of Tales of Terror and Mystery, a collection that plunges us into the darkest corners of human experience and the most perplexing enigmas. Today, we confront The Black Doctor, a narrative that, even a century after its inception, pulsates with a startling relevance. This is no mere whodunit, it is a profound exploration of romance tested by unimaginable circumstances, the insidious grip of racial prejudice, and the harrowing struggle for framed innocence. From its very first pages, this tale hooks us, not just with the promise of a thrilling mystery, but with its audacious challenge to the prevailing societal norms of its time. Prepare to delve into a story where identity is fluid, justice is a precarious balance, and the very act of survival necessitates a radical reshaping of one's entire existence. It asks us to look beyond the superficial, to question assumptions, and to confront the deeply uncomfortable truths that often lie beneath the veneer of respectability. Our journey into this labyrinthine narrative begins with the introduction of Dr. Aloysius Lana, a character shrouded in an almost palpable aura of mystery from the moment he steps onto the literary stage. He is presented as an enigma, a man of profound intellect and striking appearance, yet his very presence within the English social landscape of the late 19th century immediately marks him as an outsider. Doyle masterfully crafts his description, hinting at a background both rich in wisdom and fraught with unspoken burdens. He is a man of color, a phrase loaded with societal implications for the era, immediately setting him apart and inviting both fascination and suspicion from those around him. His refined manners, his extensive medical knowledge, and his quiet dignity only deepen the intrigue, making him a figure both admired and subtly ostracized. The conceptual explanation of his character hinges on this duality, a highly accomplished individual whose identity is simultaneously celebrated and condemned by the prevailing racial attitudes. He represents the other, the exotic, the unknown, yet he is also the embodiment of competence and compassion. His mysterious background is not just a plot device to enhance suspense, it is integral to his very being, a shadow that trails him, hinting at a past he desperately seeks to outrun. This past, we later learn, is one of profound suffering and injustice, rooted in the brutal realities of slavery in the American South, a history that forces him to constantly live under a veil of secrecy. As a practical example within the story, consider the initial reactions of the community to Dr. Lana. While his medical skills are undeniable and his bedside manner impeccable, there is an underlying current of apprehension, a quiet questioning of his origins that never quite subsides. He is accepted, yet never fully embraced. His relationship with his fiancée, Miss Eva Raby, is itself a testament to his charm and her open-mindedness, but it also highlights the societal barriers he faces. Their engagement, in the context of the period, would have been considered scandalous by many, further isolating him even as it brings him happiness. He carries himself with a certain guardedness, a quiet intensity that suggests a man constantly on alert, perpetually aware of the precariousness of his position. He has carved out a new life, built on merit and dedication, but the foundations are always fragile, threatened by the potential revelation of his true history. Why it matters, Dr. Lana's initial portrayal and his mysterious background are crucial for several reasons. Firstly, they introduce the pervasive theme of racial prejudice, subtly yet effectively demonstrating how identity, particularly racial identity, can shape one's destiny and perception. Doyle, through Lana, challenges the ethnocentric views prevalent in his time, presenting a black character not as a stereotype, but as a complex, intelligent, and deeply human individual. Secondly, his mystery serves as the driving force for the entire plot. Without a compelling reason for his secrecy, the elaborate scheme that unfolds later would lack its emotional depth and logical necessity. His past is not just a detail, it is the catalyst for every event, every decision, and every twist. It forces the reader to confront uncomfortable truths about justice, freedom, and the societal pressures that can compel even the most upright individuals to resort to extraordinary measures. It elevates the story from a simple crime narrative to a profound social commentary. The narrative then plunges us into the heart of a sensational crime, the apparent murder of Dr. Aloysius Lana himself. The scene is meticulously detailed, designed to create an immediate sense of tragedy and injustice. The doctor is discovered dead, seemingly the victim of a brutal assault, leaving behind a scene ripe with ambiguity and suspicion. Doyle paints a vivid picture, a quiet room, a seemingly peaceful setting abruptly shattered by violence. The lack of a clear struggle, the absence of a weapon at the scene, and the careful positioning of the body all contribute to a sense of calculated malice rather than a spontaneous act. The initial evidence, though scarce, points relentlessly towards a single, shocking suspect, Miss Eva Raby's brother, the young and impulsive Walter Raby. The conceptual explanation of this pivotal moment revolves around the fragility of justice when confronted with compelling, albeit circumstantial, evidence, especially when fueled by societal expectations and latent biases. The perfect murder in this context is one where the real perpetrator seems to have vanished, leaving behind just enough clues to incriminate an innocent party. The subsequent trial of Walter Raby becomes a searing indictment of a legal system that, despite its claims of impartiality, can be swayed by appearances, emotional appeals, and the subtle currents of public opinion. Doyle meticulously details how suspicion solidifies into conviction, illustrating the snowball effect of circumstantial evidence when it aligns with perceived motives, however flimsy. As a practical example within the story, consider the specifics of the evidence presented against Walter. He had a known dislike for Dr. Lana, fueled by a protective, if misguided, concern for his sister's unconventional engagement. He was present in the vicinity around the time of the murder. Perhaps a heated argument had been overheard earlier, or a previous threat recalled. The prosecution, skilled in manipulation, paints a picture of a jealous, hot-headed young man, D. It forces us to confront the idea that under certain circumstances, radical deception might be seen as a justifiable, even necessary, act. The doctor's past as a slave, fleeing a brutal system, casts his crime in a different light, complicating our moral judgments. Is it truly a crime to disappear when your very existence is a form of subjugation? This twist elevates the Black Doctor from a simple mystery to a powerful exploration of human resilience, the enduring trauma of slavery, and the complex ethical dilemmas that arise when seeking liberation from an unjust past. It compels us to ponder the true meaning of freedom and the price one is willing to pay for it. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Black Doctor stands as a testament to his remarkable skill in weaving intricate plots with profound psychological depth, particularly in his handling of complex character motivations and the gripping tension of legal dramas. Beyond the ingenious twists and turns, Doyle demonstrates a keen understanding of the human psyche, portraying characters whose actions are driven by a compelling interplay of love, fear, desperation, and societal pressure. He elevates the story beyond a mere genre exercise, transforming it into a nuanced examination of moral choices and their far-reaching consequences. The conceptual explanation here centers on Doyle's ability to imbue each character with believable internal conflicts and external pressures. He doesn't just create protagonists and antagonists, he crafts individuals wrestling with their conscience, their loyalties, and their perceptions of justice. The legal drama is not simply a backdrop, it is a crucible where these motivations are tested, exposing the inherent flaws and occasional triumphs of human institutions. Doyle uses the courtroom as a stage to amplify the stakes, where lives hang in the balance, and where the clash of narratives determines fates. As a practical example, let's look at the emotional journeys of the key players. Miss Eva Raby, Dr. Lana's fiancée, embodies unwavering loyalty and deep emotional conviction. Despite the seemingly damning evidence against her brother and the shocking revelation of her fiancé's deception, her love and belief in his inherent goodness never truly waver. Her steadfastness serves as a moral compass, a beacon of hope in a world consumed by suspicion. Walter Raby, on the other hand, represents framed innocence and the despair that accompanies wrongful accusation. His motivations are simple: protecting his family honor, perhaps initially holding a prejudice against Lana, but ultimately becoming a victim of circumstances far beyond his control. His plight vividly illustrates the terror of being trapped in a legal nightmare, facing a fate he doesn't deserve. And, of course, Dr. Lana himself, whose profound motivation for self-preservation, stemming from the trauma of his past, drives his entire elaborate scheme. His actions, while ethically questionable from one perspective, are entirely understandable from the perspective of a man desperate for true freedom. Doyle also meticulously details the legal proceedings, the cross-examinations, the expert testimonies, and the impassioned arguments, creating a palpable sense of tension and realism within the courtroom scenes. He shows the power of rhetoric, the weight of circumstantial evidence, and the often unpredictable nature of human judgment. Why it matters? Doyle's masterful handling of these elements is crucial because it elevates The Black Doctor from a pulpy thriller to a work of significant literary merit and social commentary. By delving into the complex motivations of his characters, he humanizes the extraordinary circumstances they face. He challenges readers to empathize with figures who make morally ambiguous choices, forcing us to consider the broader context of their actions. His depiction of the legal drama highlights the societal injustices of his time, particularly the implicit biases that could sway public opinion and legal outcomes. It reveals Doyle's keen observation of human end. Chapter 12, The Jew's Breastplate. Welcome, dear listener, to Chapter 12, The Jew's Breastplate, a compelling narrative drawn from tales of terror and mystery. Today, we delve into the fascinating, often perilous, intersection of history, human fallibility, and the enduring allure of ancient treasures. Imagine the hallowed halls of a grand museum, a sanctuary dedicated to humanity's past, where every artifact tells a silent story. These institutions stand as guardians, charged with protecting fragments of civilizations long gone. Yet, even within these heavily fortified bastions of culture, the shadow of greed can fall, transforming a quiet evening into a perplexing crime. We will explore the delicate balance between showcasing irreplaceable heritage and the vigilant struggle against those who seek to exploit its value. It's a world where the glint of gold can ignite dark obsession, where the sanctity of a display case is not always enough to deter the most determined thieves. Let us first set the stage, painting a vivid picture of the museum itself. Our story opens within its hushed grandeur, a labyrinth of polished floors and towering display cases, each encapsulating centuries of human endeavor. The air, cool and still, carries the faint scent of old parchment and aged wood, a testament to the antiquity it houses. Here, ancient artifacts, perhaps a Hellenistic sculpture, an Egyptian sarcophagus, or in our case, an intricately designed, profoundly significant breastplate, lie under watchful eyes. These aren't just curios, they are historical documents, tangible links to forgotten worlds, insights into beliefs and technologies from distant epochs. The museum functions as a fortress of knowledge and beauty, meticulously designed to deter both time and human avarice. Security is paramount, employing layers of protection from reinforced glass and climate control to sophisticated alarm systems and vigilant guards. This duality of accessibility and absolute security is a perpetual challenge for curators. Consider the British Museum's Elgin marbles or the Rosetta Stone. These pieces are not merely displayed, they are engineered into their environment, often behind meters of ballistic glass, under constant infrared surveillance, their every molecule monitored. The security around the Hope Diamond at the Smithsonian, housed in a virtually impenetrable vault, its movements tracked by cameras and sensors, exemplifies this. Why does this matter so profoundly? Because safeguarding these artifacts preserves collective human memory, preventing the irreversible loss of cultural heritage. Each stolen or damaged artifact rips a hole in the tapestry of history, depriving future generations of direct communion with their past. Museums act as humanity's shared memory banks, and their vulnerability exposes the fragility of our connection to who we once were. It underscores the ongoing ethical responsibility we bear towards history itself. Then, in a chilling turn of events, the unthinkable occurs. The precious breastplate vanishes. The display case, once its secure home, stands empty, a stark testament to the violation. Panic ripples through the museum's quiet corridors. In the immediate aftermath, amidst the clamor of alarms and the frantic search, suspicion often falls, quite naturally, on those closest to the object, or those perceived as outsiders. In our tale, an innocent man, perhaps a new employee or a humble scholar, becomes the convenient target. His background, his appearance, his mere presence at the wrong time, all conspire to weave a web of circumstantial evidence that points directly at him. This scenario highlights a universal human failing, the rush to judgment and the power of prejudice. When faced with a crisis, our minds often seek the simplest explanation, frequently scapegoating individuals who fit a preconceived notion of otherness or vulnerability. The wrong man trope is powerful because it taps into our inherent biases, demonstrating how a readily logical inquiry can be sidelined by immediate emotional reactions or societal prejudices. Consider the infamous Gardner Museum heist in Boston, where for decades, initial suspicions centered on various individuals with tenuous connections, simply because they were known to the art underworld. Or think of countless true crime stories where an innocent person, often marginalized, is initially framed or vehemently suspected due to a superficial link. The pressure to solve a high-profile crime can tragically lead authorities down the wrong path, fueled by a desire for resolution rather than an unwavering commitment to truth. This aspect is crucial because it speaks to the profound injustice of wrongful accusation and the insidious nature of bias. It underscores the importance of rigorous investigation, the absolute necessity of due process, and the dangers of letting prejudice dictate justice. The human cost of such misdirection can be catastrophic, destroying reputations, lives, and trust in the systems designed to protect us. It teaches us a vital lesson: true justice demands more than facile answers. It requires patient, open-minded inquiry, and a steadfast commitment to uncovering empirical truth. As the search intensifies and initial investigations yield no immediate answers, an ancient whisper begins to circulate: the curse of the breastplate. This isn't just a stolen object, it's a relic imbued with profound spiritual significance, its theft unleashing a malevolent force. Stories of ill fortune befalling previous owners, strange occurrences, or unexplained misfortunes associated with the artifact itself suddenly gain traction. The very air seems to thicken with unease. The missing breastplate, once a symbol of heritage, transforms into an object of fear, its absence portending doom rather than merely reflecting a material loss. This narrative twist introduces a fascinating layer of human psychology. The introduction of a curse taps into humanity's primal fear of the unknown and our innate desire to find patterns, even supernatural ones, in chaotic events. When rational explanations fail, the human mind often gravitates towards mystical interpretations. Artifacts of ancient or religious significance are fertile ground for such beliefs. A curse serves as a dramatic device and a reflection of how societies grapple with 7-day action plan, the investigator's mindset. Welcome back, intrepid listener, to Tales of Terror and Mystery. In this chapter, we embark on an illuminating 7-day journey, an action plan designed to hone your powers of observation and deduction, much like those employed by the greatest minds in literature. We're delving into a practical guide, a way to weave Arthur Conan Doyle's astute observational techniques into the very fabric of your daily existence, transforming mundane moments into thrilling opportunities for intellectual discovery. Forget the magnifying glass for a moment, and instead, focus on sharpening the most potent tool you possess, your own mind. This isn't about solving grand crimes, it's about unlocking a richer, more perceptive way of experiencing the world, seeing beyond the superficial to the intricate tapestry of details that often go unnoticed. Are you ready to cultivate the investigator's mindset and unveil the hidden narratives of everyday life? Let's begin. Day 1. The Silent Observer. For 30 minutes, find a public place, a park bench, a coffee shop, a bus stop. Your mission is simple: observe. Resist the urge to interact, to scroll through your phone, or to plan your next task. Just watch. Notice the subtle shifts in body language, the unspoken dialogues between strangers, the way light plays on different surfaces, the specific sounds that make up the ambient symphony of your chosen location. What color is the coat of the person walking by? How many buttons does it have? Is their stride purposeful or leisurely? What story does their choice of footwear tell? Pay attention to the minutiae, the small, often overlooked elements that collectively paint a larger picture. The conceptual explanation here is rooted in pure, unbiased data collection. Before any deduction can occur, the investigator must first gather information without prejudice or premature judgment. This exercise forces you to slow down, to engage your sensory organs beyond their typical, often rushed, engagement. A practical example: imagine sitting in a cafe. Instead of just noting a man reading, observe the wear on his book's spine, the type of coffee he ordered, the way he consistently brushes a stray hair from his forehead, or the precise moment his eyes dart to the clock. Each tiny detail is a data point. Why it matters: this foundational practice trains your brain to notice. It expands your perceptual field, making you aware of the richness of information constantly available, information that most people simply filter out. It's the cornerstone of true observational skill, building the raw material for future insights. Day 2. The deduction game. Choose one common object in your home. It could be a teacup, a specific book, a coat, or a piece of furniture. Your task is to mentally trace its history and manufacture. Where did it come from? What materials compose it? How were those materials sourced? Who might have designed it? What processes were involved in its creation? Imagine the journey it took from raw material to finished product in your hands. This is about analytical reconstruction, not mere memory. The conceptual explanation involves reversing the chronological order, moving from effect to potential cause. It encourages imaginative, logical reasoning. A real-world practical example: take a simple wooden spoon. Deduce that the wood likely came from a tree, perhaps carved or turned from a larger piece. It was probably sanded, possibly oiled. It passed through a factory, a distributor, a shop, and then into your kitchen. What kind of wood is it? Does it show signs of heavy use, indicating a long history in your home? Why it matters: this exercise hones your ability to infer, to build a plausible narrative from limited evidence. It develops a systematic approach to understanding the origins and journey of things, fostering a deeper appreciation for the world's interconnectedness and the stories embedded in everyday objects. It's the mental equivalent of reverse engineering. Day 3. Facing the unknown. Identify one minor, irrational fear you possess. Perhaps it's a reluctance to walk past a particular dark alley at night, or a strange aversion to certain textures, or even a fleeting moment of anxiety when you hear a specific sound. Then, logically analyze its root cause. Where did this fear originate? Was it a childhood memory? A story you heard? A misinterpretation of an event? Can you find a rational basis for it, or is it purely emotional? The conceptual explanation here is about deconstructing subjective emotional responses with objective, rationale. Day 7, the case file. Throughout this week, you've been gathering data, making deductions, facing your fears, constructing narratives, and sharpening your senses. Now, it's time to synthesize. Journal your week's findings. Reflect on how your heightened awareness has changed your perception of your surroundings, yourself, and others. Document specific instances where you noticed something new or made an unexpected deduction. What patterns have emerged? What insights have you gained? The conceptual explanation is about consolidation and metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It's the crucial final step of any investigation, compiling the evidence and forming a comprehensive report. A practical example, your journal entry might note how you now notice the wear patterns on people's shoes, or the specific pitch of your refrigerator hum, or how you successfully rationalized a minor anxiety. You might reflect on how much more detail you now perceive in a crowded room. Why it matters: this journaling process reinforces the learning, solidifies new habits, and provides a tangible record of your progress. It allows you to track the evolution of your investigative mindset, transforming abstract exercises into concrete personal growth. It closes the loop, turning observation into actionable self-knowledge. Common mistakes related to this chapter. One frequent pitfall is impatience. Cultivating an investigator's mindset is not an overnight transformation. Many individuals attempt these exercises once or twice, feel no immediate, dramatic shift, and then abandon the practice. The key lies in consistent, deliberate effort over time. Think of it like training a muscle. Sporadic workouts yield minimal results. Another mistake is overthinking or overanalyzing during the observation phases. Day 1, for instance, is about pure observation, not immediate deduction. Resist the urge to jump to conclusions before you've collected sufficient data. Let the details simply be. Furthermore, some might struggle with self-judgment, feeling silly or unproductive engaging in these seemingly trivial tasks. Dismiss such thoughts. Every master detective began by training their basic faculties. Finally, confusing assumption with deduction is a common error. Deduction is logical inference based on evidence. Assumption is guessing without sufficient grounds. Strive to differentiate clearly between the two. This concludes our intensive 7-day action plan. Carry these practices forward, and you will find the world around you increasingly reveals its hidden depths, its subtle messages, and its profound mysteries. Until next time, keep observing, keep deducing, and keep learning. Summary: the verdict on terror and mystery. Welcome, fellow travelers, through the fascinating labyrinth of human experience. We've thoroughly explored tales of terror and mystery, a collection challenging our perceptions and stirring our deepest curiosities. Now, As our expedition truly draws to its thoughtful conclusion, let us synthesize these profound lessons, forming a clear verdict on the interplay between fear and logic, the entirely unknown and the meticulously observed. First, let's revisit our incredible journey, from the dizzying atmospheric heights to the profound depths of the earth. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle pushed the very limits of geographical and scientific understanding. We soared imaginatively with Professor Challenger, encountering unimaginable aerial predators, then plunged into the suffocating dread of prehistoric creatures hidden deep within the Earth's ancient crust. These extreme settings weren't just backdrops, they effectively became characters themselves, vast, indifferent, and incredibly dangerous. This dynamic highlights humanity's persistent, perhaps foolish, drive to explore, yet also our fundamental vulnerability when faced with raw, untamed nature. Think of the intrepid early 20th century explorers confronting uncharted territories. Doyle captures that raw, primal encounter. It matters deeply because it reminds us that nature's formidable power still asserts itself, unfailingly revealing primal fears beneath our often thin veneers of sophistication. Our dominion over the planet, it turns out, is far from absolute. Next, a core, critical distinction: true terror often springs from the utterly unknown, while genuine mystery is ultimately solved by illuminating the known. Terror grasps us most forcefully when we confront the truly inexplicable, something defying rational thought. Consider the unseen entity lurking in the horror of the heights. Mystery, by powerful contrast, presents a solvable puzzle with discernible, albeit perhaps obscure, clues that a keen mind can, with effort, unravel, much like the haunting scenario of the leather funnel. One paralyzes with profound fear of the incomprehensible, the other engages us intellectually with the promise of understanding. Compare an inexplicable, chilling noise in the dead of night to the cerebral challenge of solving a complex riddle. The former targets our ancient survival instincts, the latter appeals directly to our intellect. This distinction is crucial because it fundamentally defines our intrinsic response: fight or flight against the unknown, meticulous analysis and deduction against the mysterious. It shapes our perception of threats, encouraging us to seek knowledge where possible, but also wisely respecting the inherent limits of our current understanding. Then, we must acknowledge Doyle's incredibly enduring legacy. He was a writer who profoundly understood both the illuminating light of reason and the creeping shadow of fear. He mastered the scientific precision required for detective work, yet never shied away from embracing the chilling, the outright supernatural, or the genuinely bizarre. Doyle recognized that humanity often exists in the delicate, liminal space between objective reality and subjective dread. His narratives brilliantly straddle this divide, showcasing characters who embody both rigorous skepticism and a reluctant, yet compelling, acceptance of the inexplicable. Imagine a meticulous scientist carefully examining empirical evidence, then suddenly facing a phenomenon that science, as yet, simply cannot explain. That's the quintessential Doyle paradox. This matters because it mirrors our own universal struggle to reconcile the logical, observable world with our deeply emotional responses, our ingrained superstitions, or even genuine encounters with phenomena beyond our current scientific framework. Doyle invites us to question everything, to observe closely, but also to humbly concede that some profound truths might lie just beyond our immediate, current grasp. Finally, always remember that the line between the natural and the truly supernatural is of CTA, the final clue. And so, we arrive at the threshold of conclusion, having journeyed through shadows and whispers, confronted the unsettling, and unraveled the perplexing. Tales of Terror and Mystery has, I trust, been a companion through many an intriguing hour. But true engagement, you see, invites you deeper, compelling you to become not just a passive observer, but an active participant. This isn't merely a farewell, it's an invitation to further exploration, a final clue to unlock a richer experience. Now, I challenge you, think back to the story within this collection that most captivated your imagination. Was it the chilling psychological horror of the yellow wallpaper or the intricate deception of the purloined letter? Whichever it may be, I urge you to revisit it, not as a casual reader, but as a seasoned detective. Master storytellers meticulously layer narratives with foreshadowing, character quirks, and environmental details. On your second pass, look for those subtle threads, a character's fleeting glance, an object's peculiar placement, a repeated phrase that gained profound significance. This practice transforms reading into an interactive puzzle, deepening your appreciation for the author's craft and sharpening your own powers of observation and deduction, moving you beyond merely consuming a story to actively deconstructing it. Furthermore, I wholeheartedly encourage you to share your experience with others. Your insights and reactions are incredibly valuable. We invite you to leave a review, telling us which story from Tales of Terror and Mystery truly kept you up at night, which one haunted your waking hours, or whose mystery most astounded you. Reviews are not just algorithms, they are conversations, a testament to the power of narrative. Be specific. Pose the telltale heart disturbed me, making me question sanity, or the twist in Chesterton's The Invisible Man made me gasp. Your feedback is a beacon for fellow readers, guiding them, and providing invaluable insights for creators, fostering continued excellence in storytelling and building a community around shared literary passions. And as your journey through these particular tales concludes, perhaps your appetite for adventure or intellectual challenge has been whetted. If you crave more grand exploration and thrilling encounters with the unknown, allow me to point you towards Arthur Conan Doyle's magnificent The Lost World, where Professor Challenger leads an expedition into a perilous, prehistoric land. Or, if it is the precise, methodical unraveling of baffling enigmas that truly appeals, then the immortal Sherlock Holmes series, also by Doyle, awaits your discerning intellect. Each offers a different kind of thrill, prehistoric exploits for the adventurer, or intricate puzzles for the logician. This guidance helps you navigate the vast ocean of literature, connecting you with works that will bring further enjoyment and intellectual stimulation, ensuring your passion for storytelling continues to flourish. And now, as the final echo fades, and the gas lamps flicker against the encroaching night, I bid you farewell. May your future explorations be as richly rewarding as these tales have been. Until our paths cross again, dear listener, keep your mind sharp and your spirit open to wonder. Adieu. This thematic farewell provides a gracious and fitting close, respectful of the journey shared and leaving you with a lasting impression of elegance, reinforcing the overall brand and tone of the audiobook. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. If you found value, meaning, or inspiration in this journey, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapter. Your support helps us bring more timeless classics to life. See you in the next reading.